I'd like to call to order this October 15th, 2019 session of the West Windsor Township Council. Gay, have we been adequately noticed?
Yes, we were adequately noticed to the Princeton Packet in the Times on January 11th, 2019.
Please join us with a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Jeevers.
Here.
Hamilton.
Here.
Manzara.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
We have a ceremonial matter today. Mayor?
Yeah, this is,
Just yell.
you can hear me? This is a fire prevention month, so we are fortunate to have two very strong and active volunteer fire departments. So I would like to acknowledge both of them and give them a proclamation. And then there's Station 43 and 44, and then Allison will read a proclamation for Station 45. So whereas October is a fire prevention month, and the theme this year is Not Every Hero Wears a Cape. And in keeping with the theme, the Township Council, along with Mayor Marathe, want to acknowledge the Township's two volunteer fire companies for their commitment to the fire service. And whereas West Windsor Volunteer Fire Company Number 1, Incorporated Station 43, was established in 1921, and the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company Number 1, Incorporated Station 44, was established in 1926, just a few years before I was born. Whereas the Township of West Windsor is fortunate to have these two volunteer fire companies serving the residents of the township for over 90 years. And whereas the members of the fire companies are on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, serving the residents of West Windsor Township. And whereas calls for service number over 500 per year for each of the companies and include house fires, brush fires, vehicle accidents, false alarms, careless cooking, and assisting the police, to name a few. And whereas the two companies attend many community events throughout the year, including the Memorial Day Parade, National Night Out, 9/11 Remembrance, and the Township Annual Tree Lighting Ceremony. Now therefore be resolved that the members of the Township Council and Mayor Hemant Marathe, on behalf of the residents of West Windsor Township, want to extend their gratitude and thanks for the service these men and women provide to the residents of West Windsor Township. And I would like to give this to leaders of both fire companies.
Can we stand up and clap?
Call you mix all the time.
All right. October is still Fire Prevention Month, and the same theme pertains to the Township's Fire and Emergency Services Division during this month. And the employees of this division are trained as fire inspectors, hazmat technicians, firefighters, and emergency medical technicians. And whereas, along with the volunteers of the two fire companies, these individuals serve the residents of West Windsor Township 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And whereas the employees of this division provide fire prevention training to area school children and businesses throughout the township. And whereas they also attend many community events, such as the Memorial Day Parade, National Night Out, 9/11 Remembrance, and the Township's National Tree Lighting, to bring awareness on fire prevention to the residents of West Windsor. So Be it resolved, just as we just resolved, that the members of the council and Mayor Marafe, on behalf of the residents of West Windsor Township, want to extend their thanks for the service these men and women of the township's fire and emergency services provide to the residents of West Windsor Township. So, there you go. He's an employee, he's in a hurry, no time for pictures. So thank you to everyone who, in all of these services, we're all very, very grateful to you.
Thank you for being there 24/7 for our residents, day and night, holidays, all year round. And I know the residents really, really appreciate all that you do, all the training that you do, and how much you care about our residents and anyone in town who has an emergency. So thank you.
The fire department has always been a big part of the community, and it's great to see you guys continue those traditions. And thank you for everything you do and putting your lives on the line for us every day. I know I've had some experience with you guys as well. So thank you so much for everything. And a lot of people probably don't think about it, but they often have to leave their own families for holidays, school events, birthdays, things like that, because they're going out and helping complete strangers. So thank you so much for all that you do.
For the community, I think the best way to thank them is to send them a check. So volunteer. I know I have friends in these services that are really, you guys do a significant amount, but the best way for us to support you is to send you a check. So please send them checks.
Thank you.
Yeah, my fellow council members can say it more eloquently than I do, but I want to repeat them and say thank you to you all.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, please come forward and say a few words.
First of all, thank you, Council and Mayor, for the proclamations to the two fire companies and the Fire and Emergency Services Division. Typically, the volunteers are not recognized in the community as regularly as they should be, so thank you for that. Just turn around for a minute. 2 Sundays ago, we had a fire prevention display at the high school south. The fire companies and emergency services were there. It was pretty well attended. Next year, we'd like to see it attended better. There's a lot of information passed on about fire safety, fire prevention, and safety for homeowners. We had a helicopter from State Police Land. We did some live burns showing the effectiveness of both smoke detectors and fire sprinklers. So look for that next year again, probably the first Sunday in October. Trying to make sure there's more notice. Although the two fire companies and the fire emergency services were there, of course, driving force behind an event for this year and the last few years has been firefighter Doug Crew. Doug, just step forward for a minute so everybody can. It's not drive that gets that done. We all participate, but Doug is the driving force behind it. So thank you very much. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you, everyone. What's next on the agenda is public comment. And I know there have been people signed up, so Gay will call the names and people can come forward, say whatever you want for 3 minutes.
Oops, sorry. Can you 3 state your name for me and your address? Actually, give me your addresses afterwards. Okay?
My name is Casey Wong. My name is Claire Wong. My name is Elisa. You might have to talk directly into the mic.
The mic.
Can't hear it.
Very close to the mic, as if you're very close to the mic, like 1 centimeter.
My name is Lisa Xiao.
Make sure it's on, Mike.
My name is Casey Wang.
Claire Huang.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Casey Wang, currently a sophomore attending High School South, and today I'm representing the 240 members of our volunteer organization, Greater Princeton Branch of Alliance of Youth Leaders in the United States. I would like to comment on the reduction of single-use plastic bags. So our organization was founded last year by me for teens and younger children who wish to take part in improving our communities. We try to do so by performing at senior centers, serving meals at food kitchens, and doing many conservation projects such as park cleanups, beach cleanups, and as well as taking part of the Earth Team volunteer for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And many of our members care about and are concerned about the environment. So from my viewpoint, during these cleanups, I see like a lot of plastic bags stuck in like branches and near the streets. So I think that we don't pay enough attention, and most importantly, try to do something to reduce this. But I feel like small changes, like adding like a small fee to the plastic bags in supermarkets, could make a difference, because it reduced the 66% of plastic bag use in China. And with me, I have Elisa Xiao, our vice president, and she's also a sophomore attending High School South, as well as Claire Huang, our secretary, who is a senior at High School South. And Elisa and Claire will share their thoughts on the plastic bag reduction.
In my opinion, I totally agree that we should limit the use of the single-use plastic bags. It is hard to decompose the plastic bags, and you will find that it will not get the decomposition if it is buried under the ground for many years. It will destroy the plants and some crops. In the long term, the plants will grow slower and slower, which will be really bad for the society.
And also the plastic bags can release toxic chemicals into the soil, which also animals could get their hands upon, and a lot of them eat the plastic bags, which can cause them to feel full even when they haven't had the right nutrients, and so they could die from starvation, which could affect our ecosystem. And so therefore I think that we should limit the use of plastic bags, not only for the environment but also for our health too. And we only have one Earth, and we should protect it.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to our thoughts on this.
Thank you. Perfectly timed.
Yes. Jackie Ayers. 41 O'Neill Court in Lawrenceville. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Jackie Ayers, and I do live at 41 O'Neill Court. Do you need the city as well?
Nope, I got you.
I just have a question regarding the R227 about the change order. Would this be the only change order?
Excuse me, could you speak right into the mic?
Oh, yeah.
We're having trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But for R227, I have a question. Will this be the only change order required for this agreement? I know it will be probably explained later on throughout the entire meeting.
I still can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I can't hear you
Can't hear you at all.
She's asking about
I can't hear you.
She wants to know if this would be the only change order on 227, Resolution 227?
And
Not
that's the
227.
The renewal of the membership into the joint insurance fund?
No, is it for the road repairs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be 224. Yep. That's what I heard, 227.
What was the question again? I didn't.
Will there be any additional change orders?
On 224.
Well,
repairs?
I don't see how we can answer that because we don't know what might happen in the future. We don't anticipate any changes other than this, but we don't know. That's what,
Yeah, I mean, she's looking it up, but if you leave your email, we can email a more detailed explanation.
Thank you.
So you can just leave email with the clerk. She can email you more explanation. Yeah, just
can put it
leave
right
email
here.
or just call her tomorrow and we'll.
Ethan?
Hi, how are you? My name is Ethan Brazis. Assuming you want me to say my address as well.
Yes.
4
Yes.
Way, Allentown, New Jersey.
Thank you.
I actually have a question about 21933. I'm not sure if you'd like me to wait till afterwards to ask that, or if I can ask it now. It's up to you.
21933.
Municipal complex.
Well,
What's the question?
what's the question? I mean, it's on for introduction before there's another chance for public hearing, so ask your question.
Okay.
Public hearing will be October 28th.
Okay. In that case, I'm not sure if you'd actually be able to answer my question, but what I wanted to ask was, how much additional funding do you think would be needed for the municipal complex, if any? And if you do think that there will be some additional funding, how much do you think that will be?
Mayor, I think this is
Additional funding for? I have
for the
hard time
municipal
hearing.
complex.
No, I mean, if you need additional funding, we have to come back and pass another resolution like that. We fully expect to finish it within the funding that's authorized here. It's not every day we go out and issue bonds. It's a complicated process. So we fully expect to finish everything we need within this budget.
Okay.
And this is just in fact, we hope to finish everything under this budget. So this is just an authorization to issue bonds when we need it. We don't have an estimate for the project yet, but when the project is bid out, we will again vote in such a public meeting on what the cost of the project is.
Okay.
So you will know exactly up to the dollar how much is authorized to be spent. And if we spend more than that, like the previous lady asked the question, we have to do a change order. Again, in a public meeting like this, we will vote to authorize the change order. So you will know again if we spend more than that, but we definitely don't expect to spend more than that because this is a bond ordinance. So we are going to issue bonds for that, and you can't go and issue bonds for $30,000, $50,000. It's too expensive.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Hinsdale?
Hi, John Hinsdale, 38 Quaker Road. It's much in the news how fake social media accounts are being used to corrupt the integrity of political discourse online. A lot of talk has been about Russia, but we have the problem right here in West Windsor. For example, since a week ago on October 9th, the operators of the official Facebook page of a township agency have been allowing an inappropriate and irrelevant discussion about next month's election to take place on that agency's page. That's bad enough, but the discussion is between two fictitious identities. One, Isa Camila, that's I-S-A, Isa, C-A-M-I-L-A, Camila, and another, Jose Sanchez, that's J-O-S-E, Jose, S-A-N-C-H-E-Z, Sanchez. It is hard to believe that the township's administrators of this Facebook page, who, by the way, are paid with my tax dollars, do not know this is an inappropriate use of that official forum. It is hard to believe they are not aware these are fake accounts. Yet the thread goes on. Of course, these fake accounts themselves are created by losers who dishonor their mothers and fathers by not using the names they gave them. There are similar and worse problems on the private online forums. The poster child for this is a Facebook group called WW Peeps. That's P-E-E-P-S. Peeps. I like to call it WW Poops because it seems to be where West Windsor goes to verbally relieve themselves. The WW Peeps Forum is mentioned regularly by you officials in these public meetings, as if it were some official forum for discussion of township business. In fact, it is operated by a single private individual who is accountable to no one. Her name is Sanjula Gulati. That's S-A-N-J-U-L-A, Sanjula, G-U-L-A-T-I, Gulati. WW Peeps is replete with posts from fake accounts like Hamilton Sellers and Jonas Snow. They're not people who actually exist. WW Peeps is replete with political interlopers, people who post regularly to influence West Windsor's policies and elections, but who are not themselves registered to vote in West Windsor. Examples of such interlopers are George Borek and Anand Desai. A privately operated Facebook group, especially one lacking in integrity like WW Peeps, should not be an official place to discuss township affairs. It's disappointing to see back channels like WW Peeps legitimized by nearly all you elected officials. And in fact, it appears that only one of our 6 elected officials has sense enough to stay off of it. The rest of you, and also whoever is elected in November, should do the same and use more public and authentic channels, such as these meetings or the popular press, to discuss township affairs.
So I just want to address Mr. Hinsdale's sign that he's wearing around his neck.
Out of order.
Virginia, let's just leave it go and we may have a meeting.
Okay, well, I also was going to say that there was an issue that, something that I had said.
Mr. Hinsdale, you're out of order.
You were out of order.
Virginia, we're going to have time for return of.
Okay, but there was something that I said in the last meeting. Mr. Hinsdale sent me an email saying that it was untrue, and I just wanted to reference
Yeah.
that.
Well, you'll get
So.
a chance to say that in a minute.
Okay.
Instead of going back and forth. Is there anyone else that's signed up?
Terza signed up? Yep. Okay.
Good evening. I'm here.
Can you
again.
state your name and address for the record, please?
It's Terza Warman,
Thank you.
and I'm at 5 Stoneleigh Drive, West Windsor, just like last month. I'm here again in support of the plastic bag reduction ordinance. I've been part of a small working group. As you all know, I sit on the Environmental Commission. There are also a group of students, some of whom are here, and other interested residents. And we have met over a period of the last 4 or 5 months. Most recently, the draft that you see dated October 5 gives additional time to restaurants who are given additional time to be subject to the ordinance. And that's in recognition of the fact that we need a phase-in period. But I'm here to say that most recently I was at the ANJEC conference, and I know Mayor Marate was invited, and I know he's very busy and was probably, my sense is he was unable to attend, but I have Jen Coffey here, who's Executive Director, who can talk about the experience statewide about the plastic bag ordinance. Yes, and I agree with the mayor, we have stalemate in Trenton. It's very unfortunate. I'm a practicing lawyer, and I can tell you there's stalemate in Trenton on a number of fronts. This is just one of them. And it's not the most efficient, frankly, for our towns to go one by one and say we need to ban this kind of plastic waste. But this is where we are. And I have no doubt, and I did send something to Gay earlier today, that it is within the township police power to regulate this plastic waste. And I cited in the letter I sent to Gay to the work of FOAS, the Friends of West Windsor Open Space, and the litter pickups that they did in our very town, where they collected 450 pounds of plastic waste, most of which were single-use plastic bags. We're looking, I think, at the wrong place when we talk about the need to recycle. Single-use plastic bags are very poor candidates for recycling. Only about 2% of them actually get recycled. Really, the best place to start is at the source. And I know last time I came, like little show and tell with reusable bags from Target, and now they're on sale at ShopRite for 99 cents. So there are reusable bags that comply with the ordinance that are readily available. And this working group and the EC, we are ready to provide the needed resources for education. We already have commitments for grants that will be made available for the transition. And we have Jen Coffey here tonight who can speak to the statewide experience in enacting these bans. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Pitlock?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Pitlock. I live at 69 Rainflower Lane, West Windsor. I would like to start off by congratulating the council for their wonderful vote 2 weeks ago on the assault weapons resolution. I think it was very appropriate and very timely. However, I'd like to expand on this because there were many amendments that were proposed, and I think we lost the true import of what this resolution is all about. So with your permission, of course, I'd like to read the resolution so that the people of this town could hear it and not just know about it because it was not read 2 weeks ago. I'd like to begin by first saying that the resolution was so appropriate considering the terrible spate of tremendous amount of merciless killings with assault weapons. It could be in Texas, it could be in Ohio, it could be all over the country. We see this happening, especially this last several months. But even more, our children are in danger. Places like Sandy Hook, Columbine, Florida, these areas where so many children were slaughtered with assault weapons. Therefore, because of this, I would like to read this very important resolution, which, by the way, was unanimously adopted by this council. So here we go. Mass shootings are all too common in this country. And whereas after each mass shooting, there are calls for federal action to reinstitute the ban on assault weapons, high velocity capacity magazines, institute efficient background checks, and pass red flag laws to identify people who should not own weapons. And whereas after each mass shooting, no new legislation is introduced at the federal level. And whereas New Jersey has a 10-year ban on assault weapons, a law that closes the boyfriend loophole, a comprehensive package of state legislation passed last year to restrict high-capacity magazines, strengthen background checks, and institute a red flag law. And whereas New Jersey has the 6th lowest rate of gun deaths per year of all the states. And whereas, despite these sensible gun control laws, New Jersey is vulnerable to shooters and weapons coming in from neighboring states. And whereas an estimated 80% of New Jersey gun-related deaths occur from firearms brought in from out of state. And whereas it is obvious that mass shootings will continue unless and until sensible laws like New Jersey's are adopted at the federal level. And whereas many police officers are killed every year by illegal firearms, especially assault weapons, as demonstrated by the recent death of Officer Sandeep Jalal in Texas. Therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of West Windsor, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, that we hereby call upon our 2 senators and 12 representatives to use their most persuasive arguments to induce their colleagues to take action to protect all Americans from mass shootings. And be it further resolved that the 2 senators and 12 representatives take action to prevent tragic deaths of citizens and of police officers. And be it further resolved that the clerk send a copy of the resolution to all 21 boards of chosen vote holders, that they may pass it themselves and urge their constituent municipalities to pass it in order that the importance of these issues be emphasized. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Karina?
Hi, I'm Karina Bisgair, 7 Villa Drive. I wanted to talk about the single-use plastics. And, you know, I didn't really have much planned to say other than just to share my experience. But I was sitting here looking at the huge plaque of the township and thinking about tranquility, research, and knowledge, and really reflecting on, in this moment in history where we are, where climate change is a huge deal and really impacts all of our lives, it flies in the face of tranquility, research, and knowledge to do nothing about single-use plastics. The really easy fix for a really big problem. I live right across the street from Rogers Arboretum. I'm daily walking my dog through the woods, through the park, by the tennis courts, up to Community Park, through the Sherbrooke Estates, through the woods there, and every day I see plastic bags everywhere I go. The only benefit to having all the plastic bags is that I never have to bring a plastic bag to fill up trash on my walk, because I can always just find a bag and then fill it up with more plastic bags. It's kind of ridiculous. My daughter Jessie spoke over a year ago in the spring of 2018 about how she just decided one day to go out and collect trash for half an hour, and she had 3 huge trash bags filled. She even found like a big black industrial lawn-size bag out in the park and was able to fill that up. You know, we were traveling in Italy last summer, and when we were there, we noticed that you go to the grocery store in Italy and you have to buy a plastic bag if you don't bring your own bag, and all of the plastic bags that are available to be bought are bioplastic. We have the technology. We're a very smart town. We can have bioplastics everywhere. I've noticed that some of the farmers at the farmers market have their produce bags bioplastic. Some don't. But we could absolutely press our local businesses to have bioplastic instead of plastic bags, and to charge a small fee, because nobody wants to pay even 5 cents for a bag. People all have bags in the back of their car that they could bring into the store. I think the big difference is just ask the store to not provide plastic bags anymore. I've been in line before. I have so many reusable bags, I don't even know what to do with them. I have given them to people in line who've forgotten their bags before. This is not a cost thing. This is not an intelligence thing. I really feel like it's stupid if we sit here and do nothing. And seriously, to fly in the face of tranquility, research, and knowledge that's right here over your head, like, we need to wake up, please, and do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Coffey?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jennifer Coffey. I'm the Executive Director of ANJAC, the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. Excuse my voice, but it's ragweed season. I want to say, first and foremost, ANJAC is a nonprofit organization. We are celebrating 50 years this year of providing resources and support and working with municipalities across this great state on whatever environmental issue they are working on or they're concerned about. So 3 minutes is an extremely short period of time. We are your resource organization. We are here to share stories and provide you with assistance. So anything I can do outside of this time period, I want to offer the full services of our organization to you. With that said, plastic pollution is a priority for ANJAC because it is a very important issue. In 2016, the World Economic Forum came out with a study that was profound for me and our organization and many of the people I work with. It says that if we continue to use single-use plastics the way that we are using them, by 2050, so by the time my 10-year-old niece Giselle is my age, so think about the children in your life, by 2050, we will have more plastic than fish in our oceans. That is unacceptable to me. It is not a world that I want to leave to my dear Giselle and to my nieces and my nephews and my cousins. The recycling market is crashing. China, Malaysia, and India are the top 3 receivers of American recycling materials. In the last year, they have said we are no longer taking your garbage. We have a glut of recycling materials in the United States. We have to stop producing so much of it. In New Jersey, there are now, in the past 2 years, 89 municipal ordinances on single-use plastic that have been adopted in this great state. That's 89 ordinances on bags, polystyrene, which we know is styrofoam for food, balloons, and more. ANJAC has been a part of most of those ordinances. We are pleased to share any and all of that research and resources with you and have through the EC. I want to talk for a brief moment about the state law because I know there's been a lot of conversation about it. In the past week, I've been in contact with Senator Smith's office, who is the primary sponsor of S2776, which you're supporting, but that bill is not good enough. It does not take advantage of what we have learned in Vermont and Maine and Massachusetts and California and how the American Chemistry Council has gotten around some of those provisions. We have given Senator Smith revisions to that law and we have his verbal assurances that he will include them. But I was with Assemblywoman Nancy Pinkin, Assemblyman Kennedy, and we have no assurances and no guarantees that that law is going to move forward in the legislature before lame duck in January. And I know I'm out of time now, but I just want to say that what all of those Assembly people and all of those sponsors in the Assembly and Senate have told me time and time again is that the way to get state action is to take local action. And we are getting their attention in Trenton because now municipalities in New Jersey that have adopted single-use bans are now preventing 385 million. That's 385 million single-use bags from entering the waste stream, just from those 89 municipal ordinances. So we invite you, West Windsor, and congratulate you for the work that you've done so far. We want to applaud you by passing this ordinance to become the 90th municipal ordinance in the state. So thank you for what you have done so far, and we are here for you, whatever questions you have. Thank you.
Sanji?
Hey, good evening, West Windsor. Sanjeev Rajaram, 5 Russian Court. So I wanted to talk about something about 2 weeks ago where I was missing from the meeting, the gun thing. And while there are good intentions behind every law, I really don't think that's the best way to go about these things. From what I've seen and from my opinion, and for everyone watching at home, the best way to defend against mass shootings is to exercise your Second Amendment right. It's to be armed yourself and to defend your family, your friends, and the people around you. When I used to go to the range with my ex-girlfriend, she used to ask me, Sanjeev, are you scared that I carry a gun everywhere I go? And I said, no, babe, because 1, that's really hot, and number 2, if someone ever tried to do something to you, I know you could defend yourself. You could defend yourself against any rapist, any murderer, anyone who's trying to come. And that's your, that's the best, self-defense is the best tool. And there's more than, 500,000 defensive gun uses in this country. That's a CDC fact. So I really think, and I encourage everyone watching at home, to go out right now, go on the West Windsor Police website, go to firearms registration, get a firearm right now, go to the CRC, sign up, be a member, learn how to use your firearm, and be a productive member of society, because we need more of those. We need to defend our society. This is our country. This is our town. We're the protectors of it. We have the fine police force, but we have the rights too. And this is about freedom. Every other country has stolen their citizens' freedom away by taking away their gun rights. But not this country, not yet, and we can't go down that path. So that's what I'm saying, and I get attacked a lot for what I say. I mean, I said stuff like this at other meetings too. People came up to me, yelled at me, screamed at me, threatened me, and I mean, I'm always polite about it. I'm not violent. I'm not going to do anything. And they say, like, you know, there's certain people who shouldn't have guns. Well, I actually have a mental illness. I'm OCD and I have depression. Should I not own a gun? I'm a very stable person. I'm fully employed. I have a great family, a great social life. And to put this into more perspective, minorities like myself need guns more than ever, including LGBT people. I went to Woody's, this gay bar in Philly, this weekend, and I was talking about this, and they were telling me about how they were so scared after Pulse about everything that was going on. And you know what? The laws didn't help. The laws didn't stop that. What would stop that is people being armed and stopping that themselves. So that's my point. And maybe it's unpopular, but I gotta say it because it's the truth. And I'll never stop speaking the truth. Thank you.
Sonia?
Sonia Gawas, 28 Melville Road. I wanted to talk about 2019 or 223. 2 weeks ago, on September 16th, I brought that concern that I had about the traffic situation right outside of Maurice Hawk, and I'm glad to see that it's on the agenda today. Thank you for listening to my concern about the traffic safety exiting Maurice Hawk. I'm happy to see that it's being worked on. I was very happy to meet with our traffic sergeant Bell on September 17th morning to discuss the same issue, and we do have the temporary no parking zone in front of the Maurice Hawk exit. I just want to understand if we have an assigned person who we can follow up with to see the status of the permanent solution on that. Thank you.
Okay, I think our traffic sergeant of the police would be able to give you all the information you need on this.
Thank you.
DJ?
Everybody. My name is DJ Varner, 13 Amherst Way, Princeton Junction. And I want to talk in support of the plastic bag ban. But I'm going to take a little different angle here. I just wanted to basically ask, why did all of you work so hard to get elected and sit up there through all these endless meetings? I see it's kind of maybe stressful sometimes. I think the answer is you all want to do good for the community. And I thank you for that. I thank you for all your public service. You know, it's a lot of hours. I do think that passing a plastic bag ordinance would be an opportunity for you to perform two good deeds. One, first by enacting an ordinance, you would start turning the tide on the plastic problem we have in our community, and secondly, and also very importantly, you could affirm the faith of so many high school students and adults who signed the petition to enact such a ban or regulation. The students worked very hard on this topic, and over my 33 years in West Windsor, I've known many, many West Windsor Plainsboro high school students, and I know they're very impressive. I've always been amazed at their intelligence and their ability to analyze things. They've been educated to work through complex topics and come up with objective, well-reasoned concepts. And I think it's blatantly clear to me anyway that a plastic bag ban would start helping our community right away. So for this one ordinance, you can, one, help prevent future litter, and whether it's careless or accidental. Stop jamming our recycling bins with plastic bags and waste, and stop the petrochemical demand for them. And secondly, you affirm the faith that our students place in the adults in the community and the voting public to take their concerns seriously and not be dismissive of their opinions. Also, you have a lot of brain power there, so that should be telling us something, that so many very smart West Windsor Plainsboro high school students support such a move. I invite you to think about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrea?
Andrea Landau, 46 Ellsworth Drive. I'm a member of the Planning Board and Vice Chair of the Environmental Commission, but I'm speaking for myself tonight on what some of you might consider a rather boring and non-esoteric topic. It's the intersection of North Post Road and Clarksville Road. The traffic jams there when people are trying to make left turns. This is sort of the anniversary. In November of 2018, somebody had put a complaint that making a left turn onto North Post Road from Clarksville was very difficult. Other people said that making the left turn from North Post onto Clarksville could be worse. And there were something like, this was on a popular website that I guess I won't name, popular Facebook page. There were about 90 comments on this with people being very concerned about that post, especially about that intersection, especially because people are coming back and forth from the train station, people are going past the municipal building, people are going past the library, and it can become a very dangerous place. At that time, I had suggested that since it's a county road, that we all organize and send a group to go to the county and go speak to the county freeholders and see what we could do about getting the light changed. A lot of people were interested. I think we almost had something going. I think even the mayor jumped in and he offered to hire a bus or something to bring people there. At that point, I think he checked with the county engineer, and we were told that the county was going to be doing a study in 2019, and after the bridge that was out was completed, and therefore there really wasn't anything to talk to the county about. Next year, on July 3rd of 2019, I visited the county headquarters for something else, and I asked to speak with the county engineers about the intersection. They were very forthcoming. They told me a study would begin after the summer and that all possibilities were now on the table, and that not just a left turn signal, it could be circles, it could be roundabouts, it could be a rebuilding of it, but that it might cost a lot of money and that might delay things even further. So what I'm asking for are three things. One, is it possible to get regular updates on what's happening since it's now been a year since this has been brought up? Two, can we make sure that residents that use this intersection, which is probably most of the town, can be consulted as to the solution so that we're not making things worse? And three, if it turns out it's a really expensive solution and they're going to tell us they can't do anything for another year or another 2 years, can we ask for some sort of interim solution, perhaps some left turn signals or something, so that just because it's very expensive, we're not stuck with this particular issue longer than we should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy?
Hello, everybody. Randy Cronfalsacco, 22 Winwood Drive, West Windsor, New Jersey. Obviously, West Windsor, New Jersey. I am here in support of the plastic ban. You can't hear me. Is that better? I'm here in support of the plastic ban. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening in my role. I was a long-time Johnson & Johnson executive, and right now I'm at NYU Business School Center for Sustainable Business. We regularly are apprised of how people are thinking about significant issues. 3 things as it relates to plastic that I'd like to discuss. One, we received an RFP from the Retailers Consortium, which represents Walmart, Target, every single supermarket, every single pharmacy, every single dollar store, every single C-store. Every year they ask for a report to be given on their highest concern. Last year it was on AI and what's happening with retail markets as it relates to home delivery and AI. This year, and the question they posed to this consortium of thousands, basically any retailer, is what keeps you up at night? And the number one concern for them was sustainability and plastics. They are getting deluged by their consumers on reducing plastic waste, number one. Number two, you had the business roundtable which was chaired by Jamie Dimon from Citigroup and Alex Gorski from Johnson & Johnson. And Johnson & Johnson, as you know, employs a lot of residents of West Windsor, and they have disavowed Milton Friedman's maximize shareholder value, that the responsibility of businesses is not just to deliver profits, it's also to do right by their customers and their communities. And they have all taken a pledge to make significant changes in all their businesses. The third thing that just came out is GlobeScan, which is a international, but I also saw the US results of how people are thinking about different issues. And plastic is now number one at the same rate, number one concern at the same rate as domestic terrorism. So it is a significant issue. I urge you, in addition to our residents, future residents, to be at the forefront and ban this plastic. There will be more microparticulates in the ocean than fish within the next 10 years. So please, let's take a stand and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? John Church.
Good evening, good evening, everyone. John Church, is this all? Yeah, John Church, 11 Princeton Place. Good to see you this evening. Just by way of introduction, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I worked in the area of renewable resources. And I always applaud decreasing the use of petroleum. We developed a process for converting waste cellulosic material into alcohol fuels, and that was something that we did. So maybe I have a little background here in the area of renewable resources and decreasing the use of petroleum. I just want to mention that I think there's a technical issue here with regard to wording as far as reusable plastic bags. Okay, here's the kind of thing we're talking about, a plastic bag like this, and it's not just a single-use bag at all. We reuse these bags, and I think many people do. We use them for food waste. We use them as packing materials for shipping. We find many uses for these bags. So I think it's a misnomer to call them a single-use plastic bag. They're not that way at all. And I would encourage everybody if they have these bags, to use them more than once. I think there's probably no reason you couldn't take them back to the food store yourself and have them reuse them for packaging again. I mean, they're pretty durable. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that I think to call this a single-use bag is a misnomer. It's not correct. It's not necessary. It may be a single-use bag in some cases, but it isn't necessarily that. So I think if we want to pursue this, we probably should mention that someplace or change that definition, because I think it really is a mistake to call it just a single-use bag. The other thing is, I noticed later on in the proposed ordinance, they talk about enforcement, and I would hate to think that we're going to have a bag policeman going around town at taxpayer expense inspecting the stores and saying, so they gave you a new bag and you're going to get a warning or going to get fined. I think that's a misuse of our municipal resources. Now, everything, of course, every ordinance has to be enforceable, This one, I think, would not be enforceable without a great deal of trouble on the part of the town and the use of some salaried employee to go around and go into the stores and make surprise visits and bust the stores for using these bags when they shouldn't. So I just wanted to make these technical issues better known than perhaps they are. And then, of course, you do what you want. We all are in favor of reducing the use of plastics, I think, to the feasible extent that we can. That's a good thing. It's well-intentioned. So I just don't want to bring these technical issues to your attention in case you wanted to consider them for introducing or passing this ordinance. So thank you very much.
Anyone else want to speak? Please come up, state your name and address.
Good evening, my name is Jeff Onashuk. I'm at 1721 Old Trenton Road. I just have a question about item 2019-28 in the agenda. Did you guys have any plans for developing the Applegate parcel? And if so, what potential zoning classifications were you considering?
The Applegate property,
It says Applegate parcel?
yes.
Right.
We don't have any plans for developing it. We have bought it as open space,
Okay.
which means that it could not be developed except for recreation or a path.
So you guys have sanctioned it as preserved open space in West Windsor Township?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
In the long term, the county is going to take part of it to expand that bridge. I don't know what long term is, how many years from now, but eventually part of it, county will need to take it. But right now, there's no plan for developing, and we usually, when we purchase open space, we don't develop it.
Thank you.
But we can't, when we use our open space tax, we could put an athletic facility on it, but we have absolutely no intention of doing anything like that. So it will be preserved as pristine as it is.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
My name is Lawrence Young. I'm from 112 South Longfellow Drive. So as the Vice President of High School South, I'm used to dealing with a lot of school-wide projects, and because of that, I'm used to seeing problems on a big scale, seeing them for everything they are. And for this plastic bag reduction, I really enjoy the narrative about the environmental impact that these plastic bags bring. But I also want to bring into attention the economic impacts that keeping plastic bags in our county and our township has. This ban or reduction, if it's passed, will give us greater tax cuts, or just like reduce the cost of having these plastic bags in our county. And I'll try to make this reason short. Basically, it's because plastic bags are such a hindrance to the recycling process that they cost the recycling centers thousands of dollars. And because of that, that trickles down to our recycling hauler costs. I know our county's Director of Environmental Programs, Daniel Napoleon, has said that ever since China and other Asian countries have changed their recycling policies in the past year or 2 years, our hauler costs have gone up by 40%. And I know some of my classmates who have left, they also mentioned that these plastics make farming less profitable. They reduce profits by directly decreasing the growth of crops. So you have all these factors in addition to the environmental factors pushing this ban. And I really think it'd be a miscarriage of, as the woman before me said, tranquility, research, knowledge in this township, which is known for its intelligence to keep plastic bag usage with the rate that it currently has and not pass this reduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to say something in public comment? Seeing none, thank you, everyone. And we now are at administration comments.
I have a number of announcements. The first is DPW is in Zone 2, collecting yard waste, leaves, and debris. The seasonal flu clinics will be held on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and Tuesday, October 29th, 2019, from 3 p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. at the West Windsor Senior Center here at the Municipal Complex. Pre-registration is required. You can call 609-799-9068 to pre-register. Please wear short-sleeved or loose-fitting clothing to the clinic. An ID is required, and please remember to bring an insurance card or your Medicare card. The next announcement has to do with the fact that we're about a month away from the Alexander Road Bridge replacement projects being undertaken by Mercer County and the New Jersey DOT, which will result in the closing of Alexander Road, Alexander Street at the Township border for approximately 6 months, weather permitting. Both projects are expected to begin on November 6th, and as a result, a detour will be put in place using US Route 1 Washington Road / Faculty Road. A detour map is available on the Township's website. Local traffic will only be permitted for residents and customers, deliveries, and community services where the area of impact will be occurring. For the remainder of the traffic, no cars, bicycles, or pedestrians will be permitted. Drivers are strongly encouraged to begin making plans, if they have not done so already, for alternate routes, departure and/or arrival times, carpooling, telecommuting, and the like. I would encourage our residents, if you have not enrolled or signed up for Nixle alerts, that you do so. Nixle is a great way to receive information about road conditions, weather conditions, and the like in the township. The police department advises me that as the date approaches of November 6th, there will be periodic updates, and it is the best way to stay in touch. You can either be alerted by a text message and/or through email. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor?
First, I am happy to hear the public comments on various topics, including some resolutions I would have never thought anybody would comment about. So, I'm happy that people are reading the agenda and paying attention to it. I'm happy to announce that the Township of West Windsor has been selected a recipient of 2019 Green Communities Achievement Award by the New Jersey Forest Service, the New Jersey Community Forest Council, and the New Jersey Tree Foundation. Congratulations to Don Muskie and members of the Shade Tree Commission, one of which is sitting right here, Paul Pitler, for their hard work for making this award possible. The award will be presented at the function next week, so congratulations. Last weekend we had a fire prevention fair at High School South, and I was a little disappointed by the poor attendance. There was a lot to learn in a very short time that could potentially save your life in case of a fire. And one thing that surprised me most, and still can't wrap my head around it, is just by simply closing the door of your room, you can prevent the fire from coming in. And the demonstration was just eye-opening, that you close the door and then the fire can't get in. So I hope more people take advantage of it next year. A few people came and talked about plastic bag ordinance. I don't want to comment on it now. There's an agenda item later on. But there's a bigger issue about environment and what we can do about the environment. And I believe we can have a special council meeting just to talk about environment. But I've talked a lot about it in the past, and a lot of self-introspection rather than talking about one single issue and beating it up. A lot of self-introspection is required before we pick and choose what we do, what we don't do. I mentioned to some of my friends, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Seahawks Steelers game at Heinz Stadium in Pittsburgh. I noticed that there are very few water fountains in the stadium, and I bet it's by design. So you're required to buy a $5 water bottle. It's not $5 that's important, it's the number of water bottles that were drank and thrown out. If plastic bags are important, those water bottles cause the same pollution, and the owners of the NFL teams don't need that $5. If you want to prevent that, that's an easy problem to pick. Second thing that I noticed, just two things in 5 minutes. They don't allow you to take any purses in. A lot of ladies don't know that. So just at one gate where I went through, in that garbage bag, there were 5 excellent purses, really good purses that were simply thrown away. Somebody could have just picked up those purses and donated to a charity. But they were wasted, filling in landfill, and I am sure they take 100 years to degrade. That is pollution, that is negative to the environment too. So a lot of self-introspection about how we live and what we do in life is required, rather than picking one thing up and somebody questions that thing and start calling names. So I'll just stop at that and let it go. Thanks.
Thank you. Council member comments. YZ, you're first.
I thought I should be last, YZ. I want to thank all the public comments, especially on the single plastic bag ban ordinance. And the mayor said something like, to the extent, this is not exactly on the agenda, but we are going to introduce it toward the end of the council meeting. I think we are running a transparent, democratic system here. So if people care about it, they show up and talk about it. It's as simple as that. And also, I'm a little disappointed that the mayor didn't go to the NJAC meeting that he was supposed to go. I think he will get more information from that, because this is a collective effort. This is not just us against other people, but this is a trend. I especially want to thank the NJAC Executive Director, Jennifer Coffey, to show up. In fact, your number is more so than what I quoted. I think I found the number maybe either older time or maybe a little bit of different ordinance. So maybe between the complete ban versus charging money. So you mentioned 89 probably plus 1. Include us, I think I had something like 39 or something. So
That's just single use.
yeah, okay, gotcha. So there is a different, so I was a little bit narrow in terms of comparing to us. So I thank you for that information, which make the argument a little bit stronger. And I also want to thank the high schoolers, because they are our future, and they're driving the direction to go. I want to thank John Church too, in terms of bringing a different perspective. I really wish everybody think like you, so that you can really use these single plastic and make it multiple uses like 50, 100 times, and then the shopping centers won't hand out all the plastic bags. But the reality is, the matter of fact is that the production of that and consumption of that, it's just horrendous. So to change people's mindset, I think sometimes require a legislative change, the government to step in to change the direction. I have a lot of friends, when I ask them about their opinion, the typical answer is that if the government is going to do something, I'll be fine with it. But if the government doesn't do anything, I just go my way, because people live in their momentum, right? It's this creature of habit. It's very easy to just follow your habit. So I think you got a good point, Chuck. But again, I hope if everybody is like you, reusing every single plastic use bag from the shop, we would not have this problem today, right? So. But I thank you for your comment as well. So this is probably a single thing I'm going to talk about, because I'm passionate about it. As I said in my write-up, this is a historical history in the making. So in future, years from now, you're going to look back and tell your children which side of the history you're standing on. Thank you.
Thank you. Virginia?
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly address, as I had tried before, Mr. Hinsdale, just wanted to tell everybody that the website that he's created is false, it's defamatory, it's completely baseless, and I made a promise to the volunteers of West Windsor Gives Back and the fire company that every time he brought it up or he had a sign or whatever, I would address that and just call him out on that. So that's done. I also attended the fire prevention fair, and it was actually pretty cool to see them burning different types of buildings and seeing how, I think the mayor mentioned, or maybe Mr. Yates mentioned it, how things burn differently under different conditions. So obviously having sprinklers installed in your house is the best thing to do, but also just keeping those doors shut. I thought that was a really big takeaway, and I wanted to mention it even though the mayor just mentioned it a few minutes ago. Also, the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company had their annual pancake breakfast on Sunday. I was there. There was a great turnout. I believe there were over 400 people there. That's always a terrific event. The kids come, they get to see all the fire trucks and get to see all of our first responders out there and get to thank them in person, and it was great to see them tonight and thank them more formally as well. Next up is Trunk or Treat. That's at Princeton Meadows Church on Meadow Road, and that's October 26th. I believe that starts at 3 p.m., but that's a great opportunity for, if you have little ones, to come out and you trick or treat out of the trunks of people's cars. Everybody brings candy, and the Recreation Commission is working on that as well, and that's a great event. Thank you.
Thank you. Aisha?
Are we doing plastic bag comments now or later?
Well,
What's
we
your
seem to have
preference?
started them now, and
Okay.
this is before we are rescheduled to vote on introduction, so why
Okay.
not?
We should do it. We're not going to pull it for discussion later.
Traditionally, we don't, but you can, since people are saying things now, why don't we say things now?
I don't have a lot to say. I said my piece last time. I do want to thank the mayor for bringing up the examples of the water bottles. It's a huge problem. Styrofoam is a huge problem. The things that we throw away and put in landfills are a huge problem. I shudder to think about the world that we're leaving our kids, right? We have kids of similar ages, and this is sort of a problem that we've created and generations before us. But it is a monster of an issue. But that is not the reason that you walk away from one small step. So I'm obviously clearly in support of this plastic bag or single-use plastic bag ordinance. And, you know, to Mr. Church's point, I think it would be great if department stores encouraged multiple uses of the plastic bags, or if individuals engaged in multiple uses of the plastic bags. That's not what happens. They end up in the trash, they end up in the recycling stream, they end up gumming up the machines, and we saw, I think, a 40% increase in our recycling costs this year. And that's horrible, right? And the fact that we've got this crisis of nowhere to send our trash means we have to start reducing our trash. And this is a first great step towards it. So that's all I'll say on the issue.
Thank you. Linda?
Okay, first I attended the Princeton Junction, the Firehouse Pancake Breakfast. If you didn't go this year, please consider going next year. It's a wonderful event, get to meet the firefighters. The children love to be climbing all over the equipment and all and enjoy it. So it's a good community event. And I also went to the fire prevention demonstration at High School South. As far as bag, I'll call it ban the bag issue, I don't have any problems with the concept. I don't, like, for me, speaking individually, I think that the whole notion of doing something like this, I'm fine with it, okay? That's up here. As a council person, then you have to take a look at the ordinance very carefully. There have been several versions of the ordinance that have, like, evolved. Tonight is the first time that we've actually have an introduction of an ordinance. This council has not specifically discussed this ordinance or the version before. We've discussed the concept, the need to do this, all of the great reasons for sustainability. I agree with all that. I don't have a problem with that. But I do feel that this is This should have been scheduled for a council work session meeting. That's what you do. You take an ordinance, a proposed ordinance, and then you discuss it. You have the administration there. You have maybe, some department heads there. You got the legal team. You look at it line by line, whatever. And then you kind of get it into a form that's been discussed. I feel like this has just been rushed, even though we've been discussing doing this on and off, and we get little reports about whether YZ or myself attended an environmental commission, we report back that the environmental commission is working on it. That's all fine. But at some point, you get the meat, you get the ordinance, and you really need to take a good look at what it says. Maybe there's ways to strengthen it. Maybe we should have added plastic straws into there, while we're doing all this. So I feel there's definitely an absence of working on it. And for whatever reason, it's also campaign time and all, and usually you do the best ordinance work outside of that. Okay, you just let the election go, and then you work on an ordinance. So that I definitely have a problem with. The other thing, besides the legal reasons, and Mr. Herbert can address those, it's just that I feel that we should be reaching out to our stakeholders. If this township wants to be business-friendly, then we should have an outreach on this, okay? So my proposal is to not introduce this tonight. However, have a workshop meeting, public meeting, where anybody can come, and actually, as Mr. Church has some suggestions, anybody else has suggestions, take a look at the actual ordinance and make those comments. And then we have a markup session. Number two, take that, then circulate that proposed ordinance and get it out to the West Windsor businesses. Now, I don't know how many businesses there are in town. I tried to find that out, but I got to guess maybe in excess of 100. So you get that out. The administration could set up a meeting with the businesses to come in and give their thoughts. They like this part, they don't like that part. They're in full support of it, whatever. Some businesses are already doing this, and some are not. But you give the business community an opportunity to speak to us. They are a key stakeholder in this. All right, they are very affected. And I think, what I hear, they want to be sustainable. I think we all want to be sustainable. I don't think we have to argue that anymore. So after reaching out to the businesses, and there's only been a limited number of businesses that were reached out to, I think it's like 14. So that's, from my comfort level, that's what I think we should do. I think you can get a lot more support on this if we do that.
Do you have?
Well,
no,
that's kind of the proposal,
No,
is to
I
do
understand.
just a little bit different process outside of just introducing this,
Yes.
and that's it. Because I don't think we've done the proper amount of outreach or public discussion as a council. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and everyone's, there's calls and all this kind of stuff going on. As a council, good governance, we should be sitting down, and we should be discussing this publicly in a proper setting, at a public work session meeting kind of
Linda.
setting.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other comments about other things which they're also doing?
Well, not other things, but another thing in tonight's meeting materials, I don't understand this, why we got this, what's it called? It's an information sheet on West Windsor's plastic bag ordinance for residents and businesses. I don't know why it's in our package. I don't know who wrote it. It doesn't say who it's from or what group it's from.
Can we talk about that later when we
let's talk about
that? Yeah.
When we come to that agenda item.
Let's talk about that later.
Well,
Okay.
we'll talk about that later, because,
I thought that there would
Public
be other
hearings.
things to talk about.
well, there's a lot to talk about.
Anyway, the West Windsor Historical Society has a website, westwindsorhistory.com, and it really is worth your visiting. It's short, it's sweet, but it talks about where our town came from. It talks about where we are now, and it talks about our historical museum. And it is being worked on but it's wonderful to see this, and everybody should visit the site and also visit the museum when it's open. Andrea is right about the intersection of North Post and Clarksville. I had opportunity to try to turn left from North Post onto Clarksville, and it took 2 lights just to get through the intersection. And I urge everybody who has anything to do with this to visit and to do something about it, if not a light that has multiple left turn signals, something has to be done. Also, the intersection by the Catholic Church, I know we have somebody who is studying it. We have an engineering firm, but we really have to get the results of their studies soon, because people are complaining about getting through that. So thank you for bringing that up. I also was at the pancake breakfast. It's really good pancakes. It's wonderful people, and everybody should go to that every year. So far as the plastic bag, I understand that the process Linda outlined would be extremely long-term, and perhaps we will do that long-term. But I think that other people have acted on this ordinance. I think it's time for us to act on this ordinance. The children want it. The young people want it. People understand that it's necessary. Yes, there are a lot of people who use plastic bags twice. That's nice. But it's not sufficient. The plastic bags that FOOS picked up from the garbage side of the road were used twice, but it ended up in the garbage anyway. I think it's time to act. The ordinance gives 6 months before it takes place, before it's effective, and during that 6 months, the administration can deal with the details of how to enforce it. It's not rocket science. Other places have done it, states, townships. I think it's time to act. Anyway, that's my comments. So, Gay, do you have any comments? So we are now up to public hearings on ordinances. Actually, gentleman spoke about the Applegate property. We should have asked him to wait until the public hearing, but we didn't. So anyone else can talk about that.
2019-28, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of real property known as the Applegate Parcel 6, Block 10, Lot 16, consisting of approximately 8.8 acres located at 163 Clarksville Road, and other related expenses in the Township of West Windsor, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, appropriating the amount of $275,000.
Does anyone want to speak in the public hearing? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Chambers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
2019-29, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of certain real property known as Block 10, Lot 16, as referenced on the West Windsor Township tax map and consisting of approximately 8.8 acres located at 163 Clarksville Road, and execution of a purchase agreement with Loretta R. Applegate.
Does anyone want to speak on this public hearing? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Roll call?
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Consent agenda. 2019 R221, authorizing the refund of escrow funds for the project known as Ashish Kumar Shah, ZB 19-08. Business session of September 3rd, 2019 as amended. Business session September 16th, 29 as amended. Bills and claims.
Does anyone want to take anything off the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Recommendations from administration and clerk of the council.
2019 R222, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the land development performance guarantee agreement with Woodstone at West Windsor LLC. 2019 R223, endorsing the request from the County of Mercer to establish a no parking zone along a portion of Clarksville Road in front of Maurice Hawk Elementary School. 2019 R224, authorizing the business administrator to execute change order number 1 with Earl Asphalt Company for an increase of 10% for supplemental items for the project known as roadway reconstruction and resurfacing for portions of Deerfield Drive, Carnegie Center Drive, and Millbrook Drive project for an increase of $32,828.50 for a total not to exceed of $361,241.63. 2019 R225, authorizing the reimbursement of various condominium and homeowners associations for 2018 trash and recycling, collection and disposal, and snow removal costs for 2018. 2019 R226, authorizing the business administrator to purchase software licenses and related services from SHI International, and authorizing the chief financial officer to increase the purchase order by $64,650 for a total not to exceed of $298,898.35. 2019 R227, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement for renewal of membership in the Mid-Jersey Municipal Gift Insurance Fund for a period of 3 years to expire January 1, 2023. 2019 R228, authorizing an amendment to the capital budget to include additional funding for the municipal complex renovations.
Okay, would anybody like to pull any of these?
I want to pull R223.
Okay. Anyone else want to pull anyone else? Okay, would you like to just talk about it quickly?
Absolutely. So this R223 is endorsing a request that Ms. Gawis had spoken about earlier in public comment, and it's to establish a no parking zone along Clarksville in front of Maurice Hawk Elementary School. So I live in the neighborhood directly across the street, and that's going to cause a significant impact in parking because the people who are not able to park in the smaller school parking lot and not able to park in that street area parking are now going to park on my street. I'm not saying that that's an earth-shattering problem, but I think maybe this ordinance or this resolution bears some more thought to the extent of I know it limits from the hours of 8 to 4. So it presumably excludes evening events where parking is very much in high demand. But what about the Donuts for Dads events and the field day events? And we see a lot of other parking buildups during the school day as well. So I want to propose that we change the blanket hour block to be more related to school drop-offs and pickup times, which is 8 to 9 or 3 to 4, as opposed to 8 to 4. Or have some kind of carve-out that says unless there's a special event with the school.
Well, one of the problems with that, I actually drove over there and tried to pull out onto Clarksville Road, and when cars are parked there, you literally have to pull out into the lane that you're trying to get in order to see anything. So if there's an event during the day and people park there, there are going to be accidents because you just can't see down that road. Now, if there's a big event at night, like back to school night, the police are always there. But, you know, that's going to necessitate, if we have it during the day, it might necessitate having the police there for any of those field day or anything like that. So
I'm just making a suggestion. It's a good way to piss off the whole neighborhood.
Our traffic sergeant did look at it and agreed, the timing came from him, and we will monitor it. If it turns out to be a problem, around the train station, we have no parking between 9 to 11, exactly for the same reason that.
Right, but we're a residential neighborhood.
Around train station is residential neighborhood too. Around High School South, you can't park between 9 and 11. Right next to High School South, they had the concept of same problem. So if we do find a problem, we can always go and modify it. But as she said, it's very difficult to see when you're trying to pull out, if the cars are parked all along the road.
So I understand that Sergeant Bell took a look at it. Has our traffic engineer taken a look at it?
We don't employ a traffic engineer as such.
I
Francis
know we
is our
have one
engineer.
with the planning board.
well, I know the county engineer,
Yeah, county
Sergeant
engineer
Bell
did
mentioned to me
come
that the
and look
county
at it.
engineer had come out and looked
Yeah.
at it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we will monitor it. If it creates a problem, we will change it. We will again put some, either we will change these hours or we will put some notice in your neighborhood that you can't park between certain hours. We will figure it out. Yeah.
So this, you wouldn't think of just having 7 to 11 the way you have on Canoe Brook, which is next to High School South?
Right, because that was specifically to prevent people going to South parking there during the day. This is because you can't, that was not for safety reason. This is for safety reason because.
Well, that was for safety reasons, I have to tell you.
No, on the
parking
side,
there, but-
on the side street, you can park and doesn't bother anybody, other than the resident living on that street.
And people trying to go through that street
Right.
if people are
Yeah,
parking.
and only speaking as a resident that lives on that street, we feel the impact when you have a back-to-school night at Maurice Hawk. And we feel it even more now because the parking lot at Maurice Hawk is smaller, and it's fine, that's part of the construction. I'm just surprised that the site issue didn't come up during construction, but again, that's not your problem.
No, the issue has been there for a long time. It's not that people have been talking about it for a while. It's not that the issue didn't come up for a long time, right?
Oh, so it's just at a election time when Ms. Gauss presents it as a problem that we
If-
fast-track the ordinance?
If she's a candidate, she says something.
It's a safety issue in front of a school.
That's unfair. Sergeant Bell has been out there all the time since school started. This is a new issue because the
But
school
actually,
is
the mayor
different.
just said the
No,
issue's been up
let
for a
me-
long time.
Let me hypothetically grant you it's because
No,
Ms. Gauss
we're talking about
suggested
two
it.
different things.
She's a candidate. If it's a good idea, should I just say you are a candidate, you shouldn't do it? As simple as that. You are saying that I shouldn't do it because she's a candidate.
No, I hear
And
a
she
lot.
suggested it.
I hear a lot up here about how we haven't studied an issue enough.
And that,
And now I'm hearing from Ms. Gauss that we fast-tracked this within 2 weeks of her raising the issue. And it's fine, I don't need to argue about it anymore.
The superintendent of
Let's just put
schools
it
made
back
the
on the
request,
vote, but we'll
too.
vote for it
Superintendent of
separately.
schools, in the memo that we all received to the mayor, says
Okay, so. the
So he's also a
superintendent is
traffic
also-
engineer?
Is also involved in the request for all this. It's a safety issue. The addition comes out further, people can't see.
Aisha, the
I tell you,
county,
school just
the county
started.
engineer blessed the
Months ago.
solution, our traffic guy Bal bears the solution. It's not coming out of my head. I will tell you, first thing, I'm not qualified to make that decision, whether it should be from 7 to 9 or 11 to 4 or whatever time, right? This decision has been blessed by the county engineer, it's a county road, he came and took the time. Now, if you say we shouldn't do it because it's election time, fine, let's apply that rule uniformly and not do it.
I
Anything
just said, let's
controversial
put
during
it back
election
on
time.
for a vote. But
wait.
I'm just requesting, Allison, that we vote for it separately.
We
that's
will
all.
vote for it separately, but I just want to say, the West Windsor Police Department Special Report on the subject is dated 9/17/2019. Was that before Ms. Gawa spoke on this? I thought she spoke at the last meeting, which would have
I
been.
mean, I'm not Hinsdale, I don't keep track of second to second who says what when.
Ms. Gauss, would you just please tell us the date on which you spoke?
I spoke on September 16th, 2019, before Traffic
Before this
Sergeant's report.
Thank you.
Okay?
Just curious.
And I also want to,
That's-
address Ms. Hamilton here.
But
I spent a lot of time at Morris Hawk.
Yeah, I understand.
I just want to answer this because she was attacking me. This was
I
not.
wasn't attacking you. Have a seat.
You absolutely were. I did not speak just because I'm a candidate. I spent a lot of time in Morris Hawk in last few years. With the repavement in front of Morris Hawk, the road has become very narrow, and that shoulder where everybody used to park before, which was much wider, has become shorter. And there's a safety issue there, and that's why I brought it up, because I
Thank
personally
you.
experienced
Yes.
it. I just wanted to address it. Thank you.
You made that quite clear, and you made that quite clear when you spoke before. I just wanted to get the date on which you spoke, and you spoke a few days before this. Okay.
This will go to the county too, all right? Because it's county road, so it's requesting the county of Mercer establish a no parking zone. So it's not over yet in terms of any feedback anyone wants to give.
I mean, I
Fine
just
to the
raised the
county.
issue to say, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that maybe instead of just doing a blanket time block, you want to have a traffic engineer consider what an appropriate time block would be. But if you want to do this, that's fine too.
Actually, one of the thought on this, since Mrs. Hamilton, you live in the neighborhood, has this been sort of communicated to the neighbors? And what their thoughts
Other than
are?
appearing on the council agenda, there's nothing the neighbors have seen who are directly impacted by this change. But again, you do what you need to do to piss off an entire neighborhood. That's what's going to happen.
The council can choose to table it, council can choose to vote against it, council can do whatever, it's an administration recommendation, you can choose to do whatever you want to do with it. It's your choice.
Okay, I think
Allison, I asked that you put it back on the agenda. Let it go to a vote, that's fine.
that's what we'll do, but we'll have a separate vote from the rest of the consent agenda. So shall we do that first? Do we have a motion to adopt 2019 R223?
So moved. Which one are we doing?
223.
223 first? So moved.
We have a second? I am reluctant to second it because of the timing issue. I do believe that the drop-off time for kids should be in this. I really do. But
May I make a motion to amend it to include, I mean, maybe we need to send it back to whoever drafted this, Sergeant Bal or
Well,
county
I will tell
engineer,
you-
to just say, is there a way that you can
I will tell you that I actually, because I'm the liaison to public safety, I talked to Sergeant Ball about it, and I talked to him about different options with timing, and he thought that the 7 to 4 was better because of the events that were going on during the day that will cause the issue again, and the necessity to have police out there for, situations like that when you have sort of overflow on that road. And so I deferred to his wisdom on this because he's out there every day doing this. I know he also spoke with the county engineer about it. So I'm just, taking his expertise there and going with that.
Sorry, I understand that, but I think that if there's a school event during the school day, there'd have to be police out there because they'd be clogging up the neighborhood just as they'd clog it at night. So I'm very uncomfortable about doing this now without some explanation of why the notion of banning it doesn't last till 11 the way it does on Canoe Brook Drive. I remember the problems we had with that, and there was a particular year when High School South had no freshmen, and there was an awful lot of parking, and it made Canoe Brook totally impossible to go down. So
I made a motion to adopt it. I don't know if any.
Yes.
Was there?
Was there a second?
No.
Well,
Unison.
I can second that for the purposes of discussion. I mean, I
Already
don't know.
We'll second it and we'll take a vote.
But second it, but I guess I wanted the information about how many parking spaces are, and just because if we stop the parking in front.
Aside from the fact that people are going to park there anyway, but that's.
Well, the thing that I'm
Can they park, is there enough parking for them to park?
There is not enough
Without-
parking in the lot, so the overflow parking is my street.
The thing that I'm concerned about is that
I'm concerned about the people pulling
the
out.
longer we wait, the longer the situation exists where the police have to go police it. I mean, that's,
I guess I would
manpower
make a
and-
motion to approve this with the amended hours, and then if the county engineer, I mean,
Well, I already made a
didn't
motion
see
and Lisa
report.
and Linda seconded.
Did Linda second it?
I didn't hear her second it. but-
She did.
Are you seconding?
I second it for the purposes of discussion, so maybe we can work through this.
Okay,
Together.
so I have a motion and a second, and Aisha is making an amendment.
No, we have to vote on this motion.
All right, then let's vote on this motion.
Right?
Jeevers.
You can also motion to amend.
Well, that's what I was saying.
we have to
Making a
address the-
Motion to
Don't
amend.
we have to address the motion and second that was already?
No, we can amend it.
I mean, can we, is there a way we can amend this to, say, have it go back to the police for further consideration,
You have to
to
go back to
consider
the maker of the
council's
motion.
concerns, to consider
Okay,
council's
then the maker of the
concerns?
motion does not want to amend it, right, Virginia?
Well,
No, I wanted to vote on it as it
Okay,
is.
so let's vote on that. We have a motion and a second, and let's
Does your
vote on it.
second still stand?
I don't understand why you can't amend, yeah, the second stands, but why can't you make an amendment? once
You know,
have a
because
second?
ladies, there are only 6 parking lots along that road, 6 spaces, 6 parking spaces along that road. Are we really going to kill this and send it back for at least 2 more weeks, maybe longer?
I don't think
For 6
anyone's-
spaces on Clarksville Road that are going to be displaced?
Nobody's looking to kill it. We're just looking to work on it.
Yeah, but it's not our expertise to say whether or
That's
not
right,
it
and
should
I'm not
be
sure
certain
it's
hours of
Sergeant
day.
Ball's expertise either. I didn't see
Well, and he
someone
talked
with a
with the
traffic
county engineer
engineering
about
degree.
it.
Well,
Look,
did I
it's
see
6
a report
spaces that
from
are
the
going
county engineer?
to be,
Well, we have to hire the engineer,
place.
because we don't, the planning board has a traffic engineer, township council doesn't have a traffic engineer. We
Linda.
have to pay for an engineer to look for 6
Linda.
spaces, so.
This is a recommendation to the county. We are not doing it. It's time, none of you, I mean, I always say it's not my expertise to decide how many parking spaces and from what time to what time. If you don't like it, just vote it down, okay? If you like it, pass it, makes no difference.
Because the county will look at it. If we pass it, they're going to look at
You
it,
can
and
go
they're
to
going to.
county freeholders and say,
I
don't
agree
like
with
it.
you, you're exactly right.
The other
If we
thing
send
is-
it up with an amended, we would like these hours, and the county engineer turns around and goes, no, it needs to be a blanket 9 to 5, whatever, then they can come back
But
to
the
us.
county engineer already talked with Sergeant Bell about it, and that's what they came up with, was the 7 to 4. Not,
It's a county road, so it's county jurisdiction on this matter.
not only that, I know there's a woman who lives across the street, is very concerned about it. I think somebody ended up in her yard, their car ended up in her yard.
I mean,
Mrs. Walker, I believe. I mean,
Just to clarify, it is just a resolution to make a recommendation to the county. In the end, the jurisdiction for those parking spaces is the county. The county usually follows what the town recommends, but in the end, it's up to the county to make the decision. So what I would suggest is you have a motion on the floor.
I'm just going to call the vote.
Let's vote on this motion.
But ask the administration to take this issue back with the resolution to the county about your point about the hours.
So I call the vote.
Let's vote on this.
Before that, I have one more question about timing, because you look at the Surgeon Bell's report, it's introduced, or he's making a recommendation mostly because of the construction going on. So is this going to be the period for construction, and then
The
no,
recommendation
any
is
car that's
permanent.
parked there,
The
it's for
construction is
good.
almost over. It's forever.
okay?
Yeah.
So this is not just because of the construction.
No,
This is going to be
This is a
forever.
permanent change.
Permanent change.
Yeah.
I see.
Any car that's parked there is blocking visibility.
It's a county road. The county has jurisdiction not only of the road, but of the right-of-ways on each side of the road. So that counts in the parking spaces. So in the end, it's a county jurisdictional matter. But again, the county does things, it doesn't take action until they hear from the town as to what the town's recommendations are. So what I would say is vote on this resolution, but also you can send a note with the resolution. There is a concern about this issue, and you look at it a little bit further.
Well,
Let's
I would like
vote
to
on
do that.
Let's vote on this and then decide what to do about it. So could we have a roll call vote on the resolution as written?
Chevers,
Yes.
Hamilton,
No.
Manzara,
Yes.
Zhang,
We want to have them, some kind of amendment. I will
But we can
abstain.
make that as a second vote.
Oh,
I could make a motion to amend it after we're done with this
Okay.
vote.
all right, then it's no.
No.
Miller,
No. I would like to hear
Okay, so-
Aisha's amendment, suggested amendment.
I'm going to make a motion to amend this resolution to change the blanket hours currently listed to be more commensurate with school drop-off and pickup times. So now I'm thinking back to Maurice Hawk days, so 8 to 9 o'clock and from 3 to 4 o'clock.
I just want to raise one issue. If there is a change in the time schedule of the school, those hours aren't going to be appropriate.
That's a good point. So rather than drafting it with that specificity, let's have it correspond with a half hour on either side of drop-off and pickup times.
But the only problem with that is how do you make a sign like that and get like a, a billboard?
I think signs are easy enough to change.
I have seen lots of places where it says no left turn and it gives hours. So what I'm talking.
But those hours change, is what I'm saying.
They haven't changed in the last 6 years I've
No,
lived in
I'm
this
saying
town.
if it's a shortened day, if it's a half day, if it's a snow day, if it's,
Things like that.
yeah.
So clearly, it's an issue that needs more examination.
I would say change it to 7 to 11 and 2:30 to 4 and send it to the county that way and with a note explaining that we had concerns about the timing and please look at it again.
The only issue that doesn't address is Virginia's concern about, or Mike raised the concern about half-days. Half-days, 1 o'clock, 12:30, whatever. So maybe a traffic engineer who's done this before actually needs to be the one drafting this recommendation.
Well, doesn't this come from Francis? Frank and Francis worked on that? Yes. I mean,
But if you're going to,
this is from Francis, you guys.
if you're going to think about that, then we would need to leave it the way it is, because we can't have different rules for different days. It's ridiculous. People won't obey them.
I mean, what I'm not hearing, though, is that the roadway and that parking carve-out is improperly constructed, so as not to even permit cars to park there, which is why this seems like something that someone just came up with, thought it was a good idea, and
Someone came up with what and thought it was a good idea?
this whole let's just prevent parking there.
Have you driven in there and tried to pull out?
Oh, my gosh, I lived there, yeah.
No, I know, but, I mean, I drove into the parking lot and tried to pull
Well,
out,
I mean, I
and like I
guess
said,
as it
you
stands,
can't.
the motion failed, so I don't.
You can't see if there's cars coming until you're in the lane where the cars are coming. I mean, you just can't see past them. It used to be that there was an extra space there. Now that they've moved the school out, it shrunk that road, and all it is the parking spaces and the road. There's nothing else there. Very dangerous. And you know, I mean, your kids went there, right?
Yes, yeah.
And my kids did too, when I can remember back then. Even back then, when there was more space, it was always difficult to pull onto Clarksville Road. Now it's next to impossible to do it without putting your car in.
I'm going to make a
In the line
suggestion.
of traffic.
Excuse me, I'm going to make a suggestion. I think I'm going to make a suggestion that we change from 7 to 4 to from 7 to 11 and 2:30 to 4, and then pass it and send it to the county and let the county change it back.
But Allison, that doesn't take into effect kindergarten drop-off. I mean, it doesn't
No,
work.
But the point is that we
I mean, the motion
rejected
failed.
it as it was. So I'm making a suggestion, instead of leaving it as nothing, to have something else that can be sent to the county, and if they change it back to this, that's fine.
I think they should send it back to our police sergeant, right, traffic sergeant, Paul, and superintendent of schools with our thoughts of what the problem is, because if you're coming out, no matter what time, someone parks there, doesn't park there, it's just still a safety issue.
You could do that, Linda, but as I said, I asked Frank about that because my initial thought was, you know, an early time and a late time, and he explained why, you know, he wanted to do it for the
So
whole
the issue
day.
is-
So you can send it back to him, but he's going to come back with 7 to 4.
The
That's what
issue is, are we going to do nothing, and put this off to the next meeting and get our questions answered, or are we going to do something?
Well, I like Linda's
Send it to
idea.
the council. But Linda's suggestion is we pull this and we put it back on the agenda for the next session, and we get a more comprehensive memo.
Why don't we take Mike's suggestion and pass this as it is and ask Marlena to send a letter along with it saying, you know, this is the time that the traffic sergeant had suggested. Can you please have your county engineer look at this and see if this is the best times, or if there are times, if there's something better, a better way to approach it? Because,
listen,
I mean,
clearly
if
I'm
you
not
want to
the
back to
only one
him,
who
he's going to
thought
say the
this
same
was-
thing he already said. I don't know what the
Yeah,
point of
the
that
thing
is.
I think it needs more looking into. I'm not the only one here. I mean, the motion didn't pass. So-
We tried, and the motion didn't pass, so let's just put it on the agenda for next time and talk about it.
Well, we have the sergeant here, so we can
That
have a
is-
conversation.
Linda,
Questions come
we
up.
don't need sergeant, we have 4 traffic experts here. We don't need anybody, right? We absolutely don't need anybody, we don't respect professional opinions. We can go ahead and do whatever, you don't want parking. Mike, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that we have talked 30 minutes on this, and we want to pass garbage bag ordinance that affects everybody in 2 minutes.
No, we actually
We
don't have to
talked
talk
30
about this
minutes on
anymore. The
this.
motion
Ms.
failed.
Hamilton objects that we are, because a candidate suggested you can't do it, it's not a good idea. And you talk 30 minutes on it, be my guest.
Actually, if you think
Right?
back to my
Oh my
comments
gosh, how
about
about-
my neighborhood,
I mean,
you go for it.
I mean,
It's 6
I
cars.
understand
Oh, boy.
people who live in neighborhoods and will be affected by this.
But it's 6 cars.
It's 6 cars.
It's
I'm worried
6
about the
cars.
safety, the
I mean,
children. and the parents driving there. Okay, so,
Let's wait until somebody gets T-boned pulling out onto Clarksville Road to address this, guys.
No,
Give me a
let me,
break.
Mike, let me make one point. Somebody came here and spoke, Andrea spoke, and somebody asked on Facebook today, getting the study done at the intersection of North Mill Road and Clarksville. I've been after the county for a year. County is busy, okay? County is busy, county can't do that road. They are not going to spend 2 days on trying to work for 6. They have come, they have looked at it, they have given their recommendation. If you don't like it, reject it, they are not going to do anything. They are not going to spend 2 more days simply because 4 traffic engineers on West Windsor Council don't agree with their recommendation. Be my guest, do whatever you want, right?
Okay.
I'm just telling you, people in government don't sit around their office all day doing nothing.
Okay,
Right?
you've made
You know
the
what?
point.
Linda
I
made a
believe-
good suggestion. I'm not sure why you're attacking her.
I believe that if we had just passed this as it was, the county would read the letter, we have some concerns, and say, okay, they have some concerns, but this is what they passed, so this is what we'll do. So that is why I said, no, I want other things.
It's what they already recommended.
Again,
Frank already talked to the county engineer.
I don't understand why we're still talking about it. The motion failed.
Okay, I guess that you guys don't care about safety on Clarksville Road.
Okay,
I guess
Mike
we need
has
to
a
move on.
suggestion. Let's listen to
Then you
Mike's.
just make it,
Unbelievable.
you don't put in the hours, just, you make it half an hour before the opening of school and half an hour, between the half an hour before the opening of school, and a half an hour after the close of school.
Which is just about what if we say that, then it
It's a
cuts
half
it
hour
out
on
for
each,
the half day.
it's a half hour on each side. That's what I had
Yes,
recommended.
but the problem
Mike,
is that those
just-
people,
just-
just a second,
just
those
a minute.
people who don't have kids in the school have no idea when the school starts and no idea when it ends.
They're never the ones parking there.
Do the caution lights flash out there to
They
warn
do.
people when school?
Yes.
So, maybe something around that. I'm just trying to throw out suggestions so you can move it along.
Well, how about 7 to 1 and 2:30 to 4?
Are you fine with me?
No,
I mean-
7 to 1? I mean, that's,
Because that encompasses drop-off in the morning and encompasses kindergarten. And then it's
so
the
that
afternoon
essentially
pickup.
leaves an hour where people are allowed to park there? What's the point of that? No,
I would
The point is, I'm trying to come up with something that everybody can agree on.
If Virginia makes that motion, I will second it.
So moved.
For 7 to 1?
7 to 1, 2:30 to 4.
And how is that significantly different from what's already failed?
It makes them think. I really think that this is an issue for the events, and it is an issue for your neighborhood for events, but we're not going to get anywhere with this if we don't send them something that's different from what they sent with an explanation of why we were concerned. So can we just vote on,
About 7 to 11 and then after.
Because that doesn't include kindergarten.
because that doesn't include.
Half-day kindergarten. What's that?
just the whole motion on the whole resolution with this change.
I made this suggestion for the new hours and Allison seconded it, so we have to vote on that.
You took 1 hour out of what they presented.
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half. I mean, we have to do something. I don't want to leave this with nothing. It's only 6 spaces. Unfortunately, this lovely memo does not say it's only 6 spaces.
It's more than 6 spaces, because I see the cars parked there. It's fine. You guys vote on it.
No, I mean, I want to know how many spaces there are.
I think Linda had a good suggestion of this doesn't have to be voted on tonight, as long as we get some more information, put it back on the calendar. Allison, you control the calendar.
I would love to put it back on the calendar if we had the information. Or
I'll make a motion to table.
We had a motion.
We
You
had
have a motion, you have a motion on the
Seconded.
table. Listen, county is not going to spend days and days simply because you don't
County
like
is not
it.
going to spend any time
Okay,
on
so
this.
if you don't like it, don't take it.
So So
That's it. I mean, I'll just tell public, if something happens, they didn't want the no parking there. If accident happens, accident happens. So it's a simple solution recommended by two professionals, one at county, one our traffic guy, and you are trying to second guess everybody sitting here. None of you have kids at that school today. None of you have-
Excuse me.
Yeah, you have grandkids.
I
I
have-
said kids.
Yeah, well,
I'm
they
technically
sure
correct.
they live with me, they feel like kids.
Technically correct, right? So
I went,
you-
had to get my granddaughter
you have
when she
not, you have not.
missed the
full-
bus, so.
Yeah, so I mean, do whatever you want. I mean,
I'm just trying to move this forward.
Okay, well, I made the motion, Allison seconded it, we have to vote on it, correct?
Let's just vote on this.
Okay, are you ready? Jeevers?
Yes.
No.
Hamilton? Manzara? Yes. Zhang?
Abstain.
Miller?
It doesn't matter what I do because,
It does matter.
Will you,
no, it does matter.
if you second something, don't you have to
Yeah.
vote for it?
Not really.
You seconded to place it on the table.
Let's just get it through. I'll vote for it.
So say yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you. Okay.
Do I have a motion for everything else?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara? Yes. Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Introduction of ordinances.
2019-30, an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 74, Article 1, DWI, drug-free zones of the Code of the Township of West Windsor.
Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second. Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara? Yes. Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Public hearing will be October 28th, 2019. 2019-31, an ordinance to establish a salary and wage plan for the Township of West Windsor and provide for the administration thereof, police lieutenants, patrol, and sergeants.
Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara? Yes. Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Public hearing, October 28th, 2019. 2019-32 is being removed till the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. There was some language changes requested, which need to be reviewed with the mayor. 2019-33, an ordinance providing for the improvements to the municipal complex in and by the Township of West Windsor in the County of Mercer, New Jersey, appropriating $9,921,400 thereof and authorizing the issuance of $3,300,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Do I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Manzara? Yes. Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Public hearing, October 28th, 2019. 2019-34, an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 148, solid waste, adding Article 4, single-use plastic bag, reduction of the Code of West Windsor Township. So before we vote on this, I just think we should have more discussion on this at this point.
Well, I think that if you want more discussion at this point, we can go down the row and have the discussion, and then we should vote on it. The public hearing would be at a different time, but if you want to have your say, have your say.
Yeah, so, I mean, Linda touched on some of the things that concern me about this. When I first met Allison, we were on a documents review committee, and our job was to look at documents that came before council and sort of look at the data and see if they were addressing what the data said and see if they were wordsmithed properly to get the result that we wanted and not get, negative consequences that we hadn't thought about. And we spent a lot of time looking at those and discussing those and trying to come up with, and that was in addition to the entire process that the township would go through with having public meetings to bring, like we did for Cranberry Road sidewalks. We'd have people come out and give their, impressions living in the neighborhood and their experience with that road and that kind of thing. So I feel like we haven't done that at all with this process. I have a lot of issues with, things that sort of attack our environment. I have a composter in my backyard. I use reusable bags. I have a reusable cup. So don't take this as, I don't care about the environment. I also don't use any chemicals on my yard. I only use organic stuff. Think there's an issue with bees. We got a lot of issues. The clothes that we wear, we get a lot of microparticles of plastic that come off, go through our washer every single time we wash our clothes. We're getting microscopic particles of plastic that are going into the lakes and the streams and into our drinking water, and we're ingesting them. So there are big issues. What I don't think is, we didn't do this in a transparent group way where all the council gets to be involved in it. And I think that's an issue. I mean, Linda mentioned that the administration had been involved in the way they traditionally are, reaching out to residents and businesses and asking them for feedback. I do know that certain members of the Environmental Commission have gone out and talked to them individually. I actually went out and spoke with a couple of people on that list, the business list, and asked them, just open-ended, did somebody talk to you about this plastic bag issue? And I heard from a couple of businesses, yes, we were told that West Windsor is banning plastic bags, and would we comply with that law? So I have a problem with the way that people were addressed in town. The businesses were told it was a fait accompli, and that's wrong. Also, at least two of the businesses that I talked to said they thought that it would be an issue from them from a business perspective. So, and I think if you go to them in one way, you're going to get one answer from them. If you go to them in another way, you're going to get another answer from them. So I think this has to be a transparent process where people come out to a public meeting and can talk about it, and we haven't had that. So the other thing is, there are a lot of things with the way it's structured. I mean, Mr. Church mentioned single-use bags. There's, what they're made of. There are all these different things that basically pretty much anybody in town could be exempt based on the way you wrote this. So I think what we need to do is to do it the right way and have a process like we usually do with an ordinance, where we have an open meeting about it and the administration is involved. I mean, I know, because I talked to a couple of people on the Environmental Commission. I spoke with one gentleman, and, I said, what's the deal with the plastic bag ban? What's going on with that? And I was told that, it was a political thing. And I was told that they were told what to say and when to bring it to council. So I have a problem with that. I was told that Ms. Warman was going out and talking to people in town and telling them that it's going to happen. I have a problem with that. And I know that, YZ, you were asked about the cost, and you said, it's not my job. I don't know how much it's going to be, and it's not my job to worry about that. Well, I'd say as council, we are the people whose job it is to worry about costs in town and the budget. There are issues of enforcement that haven't been addressed, and you can't pass a law and then say, we'll figure out the enforcement later. You have to write the law so that you can enforce it. It's like, oh, we'll read it after it passes. That's ridiculous to say things like that. We'll figure out how to address it after it passes. No, you can't just say it's, going to go into effect months from now and we'll figure it out along the way. You figure it out beforehand. That's good governance. So, the other thing is, YZ, you had mentioned that, you had some strategic discussions about it, right? So did you, and I know Aisha mentioned the same thing. So you and Aisha and Allison talked about it already? I mean, did you guys email?
I certainly didn't mention anything about strategic discussions. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I get left out of all of this stuff.
You actually either wrote it or said it during a council meeting that,
No, I
it was in your email, actually. You had written an email to Ms. Miller during the last council meeting, which I think is a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, because you sent her a private email during the council meeting, where you said, "I'm shocked to hear that you're now opposing the plastic bag ordinance despite having been privy to early drafts and strategy discussions."
Actually, I
And you
wasn't
said-
even at that council meeting, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
You weren't at the council meeting, but you emailed her during the council meeting.
Well, I never
From
got
where we
to the
asked.
council meeting because I don't.
We all, it was sent, I mean, it's dated, it came to all of our
I know,
council
but
accounts.
I just want to say that I don't have a computer during council meetings, and I.
And I wasn't physically present here, so I'm not sure what you're.
You're a member of this council, and that was a secret, look, my point is, this has been, this little group of people's working on this thing, and then you're gonna feed us little bits of information and then have us vote on it. We're all council members, and the administration wasn't even brought in on it. The person at the Environmental Commission that I spoke to said that somebody raised the issue, I don't know who it was, during an Environmental Commission meeting, saying, has the administration been brought in on this? What do they say about it? And I think, Allison, it might have been you who said, or somebody who was at the meeting said, don't worry about it, we'll figure that out later. You can't do things like that. It has to be a transparent process. I mean, I know, Allison, you respect the process because you worked on DRAC with me, and that's how you feel about things.
I believe that I
this
said
is not
never mind this,
transparent.
but
It might not have been you, it might have been somebody, that's why I said I wasn't sure. But somebody in that meeting said, don't worry about it, we'll bring them in later.
There's context for everything, and so.
Yeah, but I agree, yes, there is, but,
Okay.
you know.
But I think part of our point, why Z mentions it's a historical type of ordinance. It is, absolutely.
but
And we
let's-
don't have any problem with the children, students coming up and members of the public coming up. I don't have any problem with any of that. It's like, I sort of, I agree with it.
I understand that you
Well,
want
we
to
haven't
answer
discussed
her,
this, but I'm saying to all of us, we have not discussed once as a group, take it, we're going to go page by page and go through it between ourselves and the administration.
We had that opportunity last month.
We
No, we did not. We didn't have anything to go on. It was.
Tears came, she made a
Well, let's do it
presentation.
right now.
She made a presentation.
Are we all here with
she
a
made
copy of the ordinance?
presentation about it, okay?
It's a priority last month's
On
ordinance.
the agenda.
Some other townships name on it.
Read.
Yeah.
The last month's ordinance had a name of another township, so
lot of things-
township of so-and-so passes this ordinance. Is that, I mean, you spent 30 minutes talking about 6 parking spaces and saying we didn't have enough information about this, that, you want to study for that. This ordinance
passed
affects,
that, right?
this ordinance affects every business in town. You haven't talked to 90% of them. 90% of them don't know that you're passing this ordinance, and you want to pass it, and you spoke about whether it's related to election. The same question begs answer.
I
Whether
asked
it's
the
related
question,
to
my
election.
friend. I'm not running for anything.
I mean,
The thing is that I thought we would have a reasonable conversation, and I thought we would start with Virginia and go down the line and have people make comments about this, and then we can, if we choose, introduce the ordinance.
Okay.
We would then have 2 weeks before the public hearing in which we could answer all of each other's questions.
So this is just
Okay.
introduction.
That still leaves a
Introduce
big
it.
gaping hole with all of the businesses, and you're not providing a forum for those people.
Yes, you've made your point.
Before the council members, as a mayor and somebody who is forced, I need to set few things. Mike, I had asked you for an opinion on this ordinance. So I want for the record, for everybody in West Windsor to understand that you have given me an opinion that this ordinance is illegal. The council has no authority to pass this ordinance or to charge a fee for the bag. So can you just state it for the record?
Sure. As I said at the last time we heard this matter has been something that has been presented to me several times. Several years ago, the freeholders wished to pursue it. I opined at that time that I did not believe that the county could ban plastic bags or tax them because of preemption. And tonight, I came in here, we had several ordinances that were to be introduced. One of my jobs is to review those ordinances and sign them as to form and legality. As far as form goes, I don't have an issue with this ordinance, but as far as legality goes, whenever I look at any ordinance, and that's true for any municipal attorney, you look at three things for the ordinance. You look at, number one, is it constitutional? As I said at the last hearing, I have issues with regard to this ordinance, with regard to the Commerce Clause, whether or not you are affecting businesses that are in town or even in this area, as opposed to trying to compete with other businesses. So we have that issue. But that again is more of a gray area. The second thing you always look at is it preempted by state or federal law? And in this ordinance, it talks about that it states that there's no conflict with federal or state law. I can't sign off on that. The NJAC 7:26-6.2 purpose talks about that all waste stream matters, and this is clearly a waste stream matter, are to be governed by the NJDEP through regulations through the state. So I think that there's a real preemption issue there. The requirement in the ordinance with regard to fees, it's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen this in any ordinance ever. That you say that a business may assess a fee for a reusable paper bag and then use that fund for the business itself. I've never seen in a town, and I don't think we have the ability to either grant or not grant that issue. So I think that part of the ordinance is illegal on its face. And then the most important thing, and as you all know, I'm a land use attorney at heart. You look at whether an ordinance is arbitrary or capricious. And if an ordinance is challenged by whether it's a business owner or a business association, I know in New York that the New York food industry has threatened to challenge the plastic ban up there. But if it's challenged, they go by what's called a prerogative writ action. And I know Aisha knows what a prerogative writ action is. It's a challenge to a municipal action. It's done in a summary form before a court. You don't have much of an evidentiary. Sometimes you have some evidentiary hearings, but it's really the judge making a call as to whether something is legal or not. And then so if we look at this ordinance, we also have to find that there's a direct and local threat to the public's health, safety, and welfare. And I'll be glad to, I think my memo talks about the case law on that. And how you normally overcome that is that you have a township professional. We always talk about what's the science of something. And I know there's a lot of scientists in this township. But what is the science of something? And you need to have like the township engineer or somebody of that similar, Francis or somebody like that, look at this issue and do our plastic bags have an effect upon, say, our storm sewers? Are they clogging up our storm sewers? Are they affecting our machinery, our collection machinery, and so forth? And report back to the town on it. We were talking about the parking ordinance before. We had Sergeant Bowell opine about it, that he's our traffic expert. Here, again, you should have the engineer. And then finally, I did hear a lot of argument about, well, we have maybe 5-6% of the municipalities here in the state of New Jersey that have passed these similar laws. Most of those, by the way, are down along the shore. And I've talked to some of those municipalities, and what they have done is that their engineer has said, look, this is a problem in this municipality. Our waterways are getting clogged with the bags. Here's what we've had to do to clean that out. Here's how it's affecting our machinery and so forth. The statement is, well, these 6% of these municipalities have passed this ordinance, so it must be good law because no one has challenged it. Well, number one, no one has challenged it yet. And I can't function as a municipal attorney in that way, saying, well, just because somebody hasn't challenged it or not doesn't make it illegal or not. I mean, we have a lot of wacky laws here in the state of New Jersey that no one has ever challenged. Do you know that you cannot frown to a police officer? That's state law. You cannot frown to a police officer. No one has ever challenged it, but is it good law? No, it would be thrown out in a heartbeat. In the city of Trenton, you cannot eat a pickle on Sundays.
You what?
Good law?
You what?
No.
You can't eat
No
a
one has
pickle?
ever
Eat a
challenged it.
pickle.
You cannot eat a pickle on Sundays in Trenton. It's on the books there. No one has ever taken it out, but no one has challenged it. Is it good law? No.
Mike, I have a quick question. So you referenced the fees issue. Is that the paragraph 148-28? Sort of halfway down the third
Yes.
page. So what if we just remove that?
That's your call, not mine.
And then point me to the other language where you had a concern about it saying that it didn't have a preemption issue. I'm trying to
Yes.
find where is that?
It's 148-33.
33.
There's no conflict with federal or state law.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think we put that kind of blanket statement in there. So if we remove it, and we remove the 148-28,
My other concern is the code violations, and it talks about that, after some warnings, there would be fines and so forth on the paragraph.
is this
above.
148-32?
32, is that if it was challenged in municipal court, because of the difficulties in I would say the vagueness of the law and also how the law is written, I don't know that a municipal court judge would enforce the fines. There may be an issue with a municipal court judge throwing out this law as well.
Why is that?
It's just who is to say how these violations are occurring as to whether or not they're using these plastic bags or not. Is somebody witnessing these plastic bags being handed out?
I mean, if I got a plastic bag with McCaffrey's name on it, is that presumptively evidence?
How do those bags get there? We'd have to make proofs of that. Things like that for municipal court, it's beyond a reasonable doubt.
And by the way, I say McCaffrey's, but they actually do charge me 10 cents a bag, right?
That's
As
their
does
fault.
Whole Foods and.
They both charge us and we give a
They give you a
discount.
credit.
They give you a discount if you bring your own bag.
Okay.
They don't charge
You get
10
like
cents.
2 cents, I think.
And again, I am all for getting rid of all the plastic bags. I get lectured by my daughter constantly about it. But we have to do it in a legal way. And I know the state is sort of jammed up right now, and there's a lot of things that are going on in Trenton. But I know Senator Smith is a fairly powerful guy, and I think if there was a lot of energy placed at the state level for 2776, I think it would get through if there was more people like we've heard tonight down there really pushing for it.
Well, the township could have sent a resolution to all of our leaders saying, this creates a lot of havoc here.
Please address it.
We support it, but please
address the problem
address it and get
have
it done.
them- Right.
I
and-
wrote
and
a
have them figure
resolution.
out.
I sent it to council. I had a great big 0. Nobody said they would support it.
I don't remember you asking me about that at all.
I didn't get that.
I don't
Yes, you
remember
did.
getting it either.
Yes, you did.
No,
I
you
said-
called each of us on it was the gun issue and the resolution. I said,
Oh, I never- we never
Four
spoke about the plastic
resolutions
bag.
On the
Okay, so
email.
back
the
to the
gun
matter at
resolution.
hand.
Well, I would be happy to look at it, Allison. I don't remember seeing
I'd be happy
it.
to send it to you again, but.
So I'm
Was it a resolution asking the state to do something about a plastic bag issue? I would be happy to sign off on something like that.
Mike,
yeah, well.
I mean, that sounds reasonable to me.
That's because it wasn't on the agenda, and that's where we get,
My
who
lawyer's
said
crossed
what.
out.
Yeah, I don't
and where,
remember seeing
you
it.
know.
I'm sorry.
It was.
come on, this is fun.
Absolutely.
So I would take out 33 and 28 are the
Can
concerns.
I make a suggestion on this, because now we're starting getting markups, okay? My suggestion
Isn't that
was
what
to
you
have
wanted?
this, and not tonight, no. But I
No,
want
we
it's a
need to have
special
other
meeting where we
people.
get organized,
You-
and the administration, I want some of their department people here, health department, whoever we need.
We need to invite the businesses.
All right, then
And
we
then
go
there's
through it.
corporations that you have to deal with.
Points. Can you?
I
You
guess
have to
Start amending something
But
partially.
again,
Well-
my main concern is preemption.
So Mike, I love you. I love you to death. I disagree with you. I don't think there's a preemption issue. I think the fact that our kids are walking around.
I mean, we
I know.
have experts
And we can
in the
have fun with
room.
that argument.
But I'm not the only
Now-
municipal attorney that thinks this way.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Else has.
Okay, so let me ask you just a procedural question. At this juncture, can I make a motion to introduce with the two amendments we discussed? Or where does that fall?
Yeah,
Yes,
you are
you
allowed to
can.
do
So
that.
I'm going to make that motion to introduce
Okay,
with
but let me,
removal of 28 and 33. Were those the two sections, Mike?
Yes.
not been published like that.
Yeah, I'm not, like,
amend
I don't think, can you amend it like that and introduce it, Gay? I mean, that seems like
It's not-
substantive.
The reason is that it's not introduced. So instead of doing the policy work where we all go through each issue and each page, we're not doing that. We're just doing last-minute things to try and get this through.
Well, don't,
Okay,
Mike,
we are.
don't we do
You're
this
removing the fine portion, you said 32?
33?
Or 33.
No,
Okay,
33 was the
33
is the federal.
preemption. But so Mike, my question just is, we can introduce it as is, we can introduce it taking these two out. It's not law yet, right?
It's only for introduction.
It's only for introduction. And then we have time over the next 2 weeks to stew to our heart's content and recommend changes, or to amend
Well, just
next
remember,
week.
Yeah, if the changes are substantial. you
It
have to
goes back.
reintroduce.
Yeah, that's fine. I take Linda's point that this needs discussion, but I think you have a meaningful discussion once it's introduced.
And
I don't think you do that.
And Linda-
I think
I know Linda
think
and I
you
have
get
had-
it right
We've
from the
gone
start.
back and forth on this for many, many years. Not that, and Linda's much younger than I am, but,
Not really.
We've gone back and forth for this for many years, and I know my father before me. Linda's point is this, is that why introduce it tonight if we're going to be making substantial changes to it? Why not go the 2 weeks? Everyone can go back and forth. I will still remain with my preemption argument, but everyone can go back and forth, and then you'll have an opportunity to introduce it at
I
the
think
next-
for the same reason that my neighborhood is going to have to deal with traffic, is this is on the agenda, let's deal with it. And we don't have to, if the votes don't happen, it doesn't get introduced. If the votes don't happen in 2 weeks, it doesn't get passed. But I'm going to make the motion to introduce it.
Well, I would say it's a little different situation. That was a resolution to send it to professionals at the county to look at it, and this is an ordinance. It's a very different situation, and I think it's,
I think we've
come on.
had a lot of conversation
Okay.
about this. Aisha has made
Okay.
a motion. Is anyone going to
I will
second it?
Wait.
YZ has seconded it. We
And I'm
have
going to call the
discussed it.
question.
Yeah, I have to ask him questions. Okay, so you have already opined that it's illegal. If somebody challenges it, what would be the cost to the township approximately?
Prerogative writ action could cost anywhere between, I'd say anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000.
And which of those 89 townships that have passed
And-
this ordinance have had prerogative writ
Not
actions?
89 townships, that's not correct. It's
35.
a lot less than that, they're talking about 89 ordinances.
Yeah, so which of
89
those have been subject to
I believe
legal
it's all
challenge?
different.
I believe it's only 30-some townships.
Yes.
Which of the ordinances have been subject to
None have been
challenge?
challenged yet, but neither is the pickle law in Trenton.
And most of them are beach towns.
I think
got my
that's
next
irrelevant.
And-
We have an expert
Hold on, I
here,
think
but I think.
the mayor didn't finish his comment.
Let's
All right,
call the
let's-
question and move on.
Yeah, well, the experts should be at the work session.
Allison,
That's when you discuss all this.
Let me just, I'm supposed to enforce the
Hey, Mike,
ordinance.
what happens
Let
when
me
I call the
establish-
question?
Let me establish some facts.
Mike,
Historic, it is truly historic because three council members are willing to introduce an ordinance that their attorney is telling them it's illegal. So it's truly historic. So let people know how historic it is. And 5 minutes ago, we had a 1 hour discussion about 6 parking spaces for a resolution to be set. And you were not willing to set a resolution, but you're willing to pass an ordinance that affects every business in town. When there are a lot of questions, people are pulling sections of the ordinance at the table. Let people see how government works.
Mike
how
and
the
Gay,
sausage is
I hate to
being
do the
made.
Roberts Rule
Right?
thing, but this question has been called 3 times.
Listen.
Mike? You have to vote on a call. You can't just call a question, you have to vote on that.
You keep at the board, you keep asking who is going to indemnify the township if we are sued. Fine, if nobody sues us, all is well and good. If somebody sues us, who is going to indemnify the township?
I do not believe that we are going to
I
be
don't even,
sued
I never
about
asked
this.
that.
Well, one thing, and no one in the audience is paying for it. The taxpayers are paying for it, okay? No one's putting money up for this, so, I know. Look, I'm just gonna abstain, because it's not that I'm against all this, but I think that this council, not once, has sat and just gone through page by page. There's other stuff, but I'm not gonna do it this way, so I'm just gonna abstain.
We just talked about it.
All right,
No, this is a night of introduction, we should be pulling it and having a workshop session, even if you want to do it at the next meeting or what, some other determined date.
I think
Okay.
I've called the question, should we go for 5? 5 times.
So we have a roll call vote, please.
Jeevers.
Same.
Hamilton.
Yes to introduction.
Manzara. No. Zhang.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Public hearing will be October 28th, 2019, and this was as amended, correct?
Oh, it was as amended? See, I didn't even know what you were,
Yeah, it was.
ridiculous.
As-
The motion was to amend it, taking out sections
What-
28 and 33.
But we can do it plain, too. Whatever you guys
Which means I
want.
have to renumber the whole
It's just an
ordinance.
introduction, this isn't the law. It's
You
just
can't make substantive
introduction.
changes
but you
at the
can't
hearing.
make substantive changes.
You were not passing the
You
law
can.
an hour ago.
If we
And
were
you made a big
making,
federal issue about it being politically related simply because Sonia said it.
Hemant,
Not the law either.
we can keep talking about ones we've already passed.
I'm going to demonstrate how sausage is being made. Right? Let
Perfect.
people decide whatever they want to do.
Actually, you want to present that on PEEPs.
A technical question for you. The ordinance that was introduced is very different from the ordinance that was published on the website in the agenda. Can the council legally
Is it?
introduce the ordinance tonight?
They can amend it on introduction.
Okay.
okay,
So
the next thing that is,
And again, just so everyone is clear on it, the purpose of an ordinance having to be introduced and then 2 weeks later, having a hearing and voted on, is to be able to provide adequate notice for a change in the law. Resolutions aren't a change in the law, whereas an ordinance is. It gives, the idea of the ML is to give the public enough notice to be able to talk about it and so forth.
You know,
okay, I think we.
Can I just make one other point, because I don't understand where this came from, the information sheet on West Windsor's plastic bag
I
ordinance.
want to address that, Linda. I haven't been able to talk. I've been giving you the mic.
Who wrote this?
So,
This became part of the public record, and it already says West Windsor has passed a law that would prevent businesses from giving out single-use plastic bags.
But no one addressed that,
Prejudice the
Linda.
hearing by putting this
No one addressed that.
part of the public documents, but that's okay.
Yeah, let me address that, okay, Linda? So, I've been taking notes. I want to address some of the concerns and questions, including the mayor and Linda, yourself, and also Virginia. So, first of all, this has been discussed since May or April. I reported back to this council meeting at least 4 or 5 times, if you look at the public record.
Why is he mentioning that people are talking about a bad ban? He said it was discussed with
I've been pretty patient and gentle about it, so let me give me the deserved time.
Sorry.
So it's not something that has been out of the blue. And to be honest, in my book, this has nothing to do with the election and everything else. It's just the historical moment, as I mentioned before. Now, if you look at this ordinance and the other resolutions, there is a big difference. That is, this is very much universal. Let me repeat, universal. Let me repeat the third time, universal. It's not very local to the school open and impact a particular community or anything. This ordinance, if you look at it, there's a little trick between the 30 plus or the 89, which I need to verify. The difference is it's very much the same because it is the same impact to everybody, every town. It is the same impact to all the business in town as well. What's the difference between a cafe and Walmart and everything else? There's no difference, right? Yes, you have to talk to the business, but this is the major difference. Okay, so to me, we don't need to customize it and make it fit for our quote-unquote local as much as other ordinance, which has a real difference in our business because of the operating hours, because of the particular issues. Okay, so that's one point I want to make. And then to address Linda's question, 3 of us got together after the last meeting, which is Teresa, who was the author, of the original ordinance, and Dr. Xin Li, who has a lot of passion about the issue, and me too, because I had a lot of passion as the EC liaison. So the three of us got together. Mostly, we were the ones drafting the package. Now, in terms of the mayor's claim that the wrong county township name on the ordinance, I think there was a mistake or something. But the one I received for the last meeting, dated September 8th, was a correct version. So you and I got the wrong version for whatever reason. I'm an IT expert, we can look at the archive, but I don't think that's the problem. Because we have had a September 9th version for a long time. On this version, we clearly listed individual minor changes in the letter. Yes, we did not have the edit track, as I think Linda asked for that, which I appreciate that as an IT person myself. So we could have like 3 people tracking names and everything. We could have done that, but we were doing a good enough job in terms of listing individual changes, from extending the exemption period to reducing the exceptional fees and things like that nature, trying to accommodate the business, trying to accommodate giving more time to the administration to implement the ordinance. So in my opinion, again, it's opinion, we have done things that we took from some of the feedback, including Linda's feedback, and then we try to incorporate into the updated ordinance. So to me, this has gone through rounds and rounds and rounds of discussion. I mean, if you haven't seen it before tonight, that's your problem. So I'm going to have I already passed it, but I don't think, just on the record, I don't think this is something that we need to spend too much time and will on, in my opinion, again, because, again, this is the general trend, and this is a universal issue, right? Not necessarily, we built we went through some of the ordinance details in terms of, town center development, the heights of this, and we like that, because that's very much impacting to the local residents. But in this case, again, do we have any business that's completely different from the next town who passed the ordinance? I don't see the difference. Yes, they were going to somehow get some impact, but we have another thing which I didn't put into the package. I think I want to have, if I have the privilege to have Jennifer Coffey got on the podium, like there is information passed to me, there's lots of grant that we can apply to the local businesses and help them to assist the residents to buy the reusable plastic bags, not necessarily plastic, whatever the material could be. So I think there's a lot of things that we can get from NJAC, which is the nonprofit of the Association of all the New Jersey Environmental Commissioner, who are the experts in this field. We want to talk about all these knowledge and research and everything. They're the ones we should listen to. I think I've said enough, but I would like to have Jennifer Coffey on the podium if you want to share with something, because I saw you raise your hand a couple of times, and I don't know whether it's out of the order.
No, it's not out of order. We
Yes.
finished speaking up here.
Okay, so maybe the public comment session.
Additional public comment. I
Wait,
just
wait.
want to say something.
Everybody
please.
has,
Ma'am, additional public comment, we're not there yet.
Just in
Thanks.
a minute,
Yep.
sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, we've all.
I need one.
Most of us have spoken. We've made our points. I just want to say the Commerce Clause, I think that the businesses in West Windsor will be at an advantage, not a disadvantage, because the people right now, especially the young people, will appreciate the lack of single-use plastic bags just handed out to everyone. So I do not accept that argument. I think this is timely. I think it's time for now. We had an opportunity for a discussion which was not taken, and I think that I think we should have had a different discussion a month ago, but I think it's time to move forward. And I mean, everybody here has made their feelings very clear. And I don't think it's necessary to repeat it again and again and again, just so that we won't finish this meeting until 11 o'clock. I think that there's opportunity in the 2 weeks before the public hearing to get a lot of the questions that we've heard tonight answered. And the format of the information sheets was how the questions that would be asked would be answered if we were to pass this. I'm sorry that the tense didn't fit.
But the tense presumes it's
Linda-
already passed.
Linda,
It's not just a tense, it says it's passed, okay.
It
doesn't say who it's from.
how you would answer
I don't even know why
the
we're doing that
question.
yet, but.
And it came from the people who were working on this ordinance.
Well, they should.
Allison, I think that-
Okay, I'm making my point.
Yeah.
You think that everything that comes from a committee has to be signed.
And by the way, that's a suggested Q&A, which can be modified, of course.
What?
It's a suggested Q&A.
It's
Suggested Q&A. It's not, that's not the official
I understand that,
document.
but it's like, who's giving that out on behalf of whom?
It's there
I get
for
it.
information.
But because it's presented as it's a done deal, that was the same thing I heard when I went into Rite Aid, that it was presented to them by Terza, this is a fait accompli, this is already done. And when I talked to the gentleman at the Environmental Commission, he said to me, she was going out and telling people this, and he thought it was wrong too. I just don't think that's okay.
I do not know who was going and telling anybody that it was a done deal, because it's not a done deal. And obviously, there has been some confusion, and it's he said, she said, he said, she said, whispering. But
But that's the whole process of this thing. It's all been cloaked in darkness instead of having a big working session where the businesses can come and we can hear what the conversation was, and we don't hear third hand what it was. It's all been doing. I'm surprised at you, Allison, because that's not who I know you to be. You weren't like that when we first started on the Documents Review Committee, and now it's just. I don't know, this is just
I have heard
crazy.
so much about this in so many
Well, that makes
places.
one of you.
At the Environmental Commission and here.
Linda and I haven't.
Anyway.
But I guess that's a political thing then. There you go.
Okay.
It's
I
disappointing.
would like to, please, you've said,
No.
you have something that you haven't said.
I haven't said.
Okay, what
I want to
you
say,
have
and
not
look,
said.
don't try to push it through. Let people talk. Okay, it's open that it's a political thing, that's okay. You have 3 votes, that's okay. You can introduce it today, that's okay. You can pass it next week, that's okay. My life doesn't change because plastic bags are banned. But this is sending a terrible message to the West Windsor businesses. YZ next time will run saying that I am for small business. Absolutely terrible message to small business, that we will pass an ordinance that affects your business and we won't even bother talking to you. We won't even bother telling you that ordinance is passed. We will just tell you this is done and deal with it. No business will come. I am a businessman. No business will come to a town where a council simply, an ordinance that is generated by one person, okay, for whatever reason, passed because of somebody is running for election, okay, and passed that affects every business in town without telling the businesses that this thing is passed. And then we say we are for small business. We want to attract small business. Which small business is going to move to West Windsor, knowing that tomorrow the council can pull the rug under them because it's politically expedient? And Teresa, I'm sorry we are friends, but you have done a terrible thing to the Environmental Commission by politicizing it. Okay, that's a sad commentary on that. And I will say that, and this is going to pass next time. I know it's politics, I understand. I wasn't born yesterday. I've been in this business for a long time. It will pass, but I just need people to see how the sausage is being made. And if they want the kind of government they want, they will get the kind of government they want. It's everybody's decision whether they want to pass all this. And look, 5 years from now, there may be some other mayor, there may be some other councilman who will come with an ordinance that you don't like. And I will predict it will pass.
and you will be on the other side and you will be complaining. The time to do the governance rule is when you have the power. And you are setting a terrible governance rule when you have power. So when you lose power, or if you lose power, somebody else is going to come and do the same thing to you. That's what happens in Washington. And that's why people cry. So that's my prediction. Somebody else, I'm not going to do it because I will not sell my soul for election seat. I will never sell my soul for election. It's not worth it. But I will predict somebody after me will come, do the same thing to you, and you will cry, and then I will just remind you that you did the same thing 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and this is the result. So Alison, you have been very good until a month before the election. Whatever happened to you, I am sorry. I have given you a lot of credit for working. This is not the way of doing things, and this is sending a terrible message to businesses, and I have to stand for businesses. I have to stand for local businesses who depend on the government, and I have to say that West Windsor is not like this. It's only till November 5th. Then hopefully things will change.
This is about the most political statement I've ever heard on this council so far. So while we're talking about not being political, this isn't a political issue to begin with. It is you, Mr. Mayor, made it political. Once, twice, three more times. Once again and again. If you think about the small business, the new trend is that they start to think about the sustainability, the environmental production. That's just the trend, okay? So especially the young generation, when they start a business, which is a new trend. You know, we want to attract small and new businesses in town, especially the millennials, the new ones. So this will send a great message, in my opinion, to the new startup businesses to come in town. I have a lot of business owners who took the initiative. They thought, oh, I'm going to waste some money investing into a green certified building. At the end, they're the ones making a profit because they can use that to attract talented employees. They can use that to advertise to the community. So the power has changed. If you haven't realized it, then you're behind it, dear Mr. Mayor. So that's what I want to say.
How many small businesses did you talk to?
Okay, this is really a discussion that you can take for another time. I also think this particular ordinance, which involves plastic bags, is not going to discourage businesses to come into West Windsor. I think this will give West Windsor a good reputation, caring about the environment. However, it's the time for additional public comment. Please, Ms. Caffrey, would you come up? Mr. Church, she did come up beforehand. Would you please let her come up? All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
She's saying go ahead, but
Okay,
she
thank
did
you.
come up before.
Okay, John Church, 11 Princeton Place. I've been coming to these meetings for over a decade. I think I haven't missed more than one or two of them over that period of time. And I have to say, this is one of the low points in council's history, speaking for over a decade of experience. And I think this applies also to Mr. Herbert's father. I have never seen council introduce an ordinance that was strongly opposed by the municipal attorney in more than a whole decade. This is something new to me. I think it's highly inadvisable to do that. You should not introduce, let alone pass, an ordinance for which that does not have the full endorsement of the municipal attorney. So I think that that is a strong point here, that you should not, given the fact that, given Mr. Herbert's position here, you should not have even introduced this ordinance, and I think that probably it would not be a good idea for you to pass it because of the possible legal implications in the future. So that's what I wanted to say. Again, I haven't seen this, a display like this in over a decade of coming to these meetings, and I hope I don't see it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Church.
Thank you, council members, mayor, for the opportunity to speak a second time.
Please state your name and
Jennifer
address.
Coffey, the executive director of ANJAC. I want to say I support also reusable bottles and refill stations, and you can bring these to stadiums and airports, and I have a number of times. I'd be happy to share additional resources on anything I'm about to say with Mr. Herbert. I'm available at your convenience. We could grab a cup of coffee and chat. First, I want to offer a few clarifying statements. First, most of the ordinances on plastic bags and on single-use plastics are not along the shore. Did they start there? Yes, but they are not there now. We have, and this is just from memory because I couldn't get enough network connection to pull up the full list, Lambertville, Glen Rock, Chester, Montclair, Newark, Jersey City, and most certainly not least, both Parsippany Troy Hills, lots of shopping, and Paramus, the mother of all shopping in New Jersey, have passed bag ordinances. They go into effect in January. We are working with them on compliance. We will share their strategies. We will share all of the resources that we have created with and for them. Compliance particularly comes when the ordinance is passed. It's simply a change in what the stores order or do not order. It is not a tremendous issue for compliance. You simply stop ordering single-use plastic bags. Second, I want to talk about preemption for just a moment. Last year, the legislature passed a law on single-use plastics. That law included a particular provision that said municipalities could adopt ordinances that are stronger than that which the state has passed. We supported that ordinance. It came out of the Office of Legal Services, OLS. The Food Council objected to that. The League of Municipalities was in support of it. The governor eventually vetoed the legislation at our urging and the urging of other environmental groups because the reusable bag definition was too weak and would have resulted in more plastic use. But it had a specific provision in there about municipalities having stronger ordinances than that which the state offers. And I've gone back to several sources during this meeting, and I'm happy to pass along any additional findings and confirmations. Regarding the fee question, my understanding of working with both the League of Municipalities and the Office of Legal Services at the legislature is that municipalities are allowed to pass a fee in their ordinance provided that the merchants keep the fee. If not, it becomes a tax that the municipalities cannot therefore collect because they don't have that authority under the police powers. I am not an attorney, and I defer to those that I worked with OLS on this issue. However, as long as the merchant keeps the fee, my understanding is that it is legal, and a number of municipalities in New Jersey have done that. I'm running out of time, but with regard to the New York City lawsuit, yes, businesses sued on New York City's lawsuit, and they lost, and the single-use provision regarding polystyrene and regarding plastic bags is in effect as of January 1st of this year. So, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to say anything?
Just a clarification, that wasn't the city, that was the state.
New York City.
I believe it was the state that passed the law on it.
Whatever they are, they're bigger than we are. Kirsa?
Hi, Teresa Warman, Stoneleigh Drive. This started very innocently in my head with the Bar Association meeting that I went to in January 2018, when I learned that China and other countries that were receiving our plastic waste were sealing their borders to our plastic waste and trash. And out of that came activism from ANJEC and Clean Water Action, and I sit on the board of Clean Water Action, and they were like, let's have the state take action. We all know the state is in gridlock, state legislature. Someone could do a PhD thesis on that. It's not just on this issue, it's on others as well. And therefore, the towns were encouraged to take action. And the first thing we did as an environmental commission was reach out to businesses. And no, I never said that the ordinance was going to pass or that it was a done deal. I have a small business. I have my own law office. I can point to different things in our town that make it very, very costly. This is not one of them. Okay, I mean, I'll walk you down High School North and look at all the tenured teachers who will be there until they want to leave. And, you know, we're paying their very high salaries. I mean, if you want to look at why we're a high-cost town, it's not because of this consideration of a ban of single-use plastic bags. So we were very upfront. You know, I went to, the first person I spoke with was my buddy, Mike Espenson, who's the manager at McCaffrey's. I go there all the time, and I said, you know, let's talk about this. And he said to me, Terza, keep me posted. I told him when we had our, when we had our next meeting of the Environmental Commission, which was then back in June, he said, I can't go. Let me know what's going on. More recently, he said, hey, what's happening with the ordinance? I said, hey, it's under discussion. And we went to other, businesses, and you have our survey. It's part of the packet. We went to Rite Aid. We went to Mike's. We went all the way to Nassau Park Boulevard, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Wegmans. Trader Joe's and Wegmans are already on board. And Target is already selling these reusable bags for 99 cents. Nothing was done under cover of night. That would make no sense. I would not do that. I pride myself on my integrity. I want it, if this happens, I want it to happen fair and square. And Mayor, the Environmental Commission, we wanted to meet with you over the summer when this was under consideration. And you had said, let's wait till after the election. And we didn't want to wait till after the election because all these towns, as Jen has described, have already passed the ordinances. So I think the time is now. We've been very transparent. I'm here the next 2 weeks. Anyone wants to meet with me, I think, with all due respect to Mike Herbert, I think that the towns have authority under the police power. I sent something to Gay Huber. I think there's a reason why there's been no challenge in New Jersey, because the law is clear that this is permissible. Thank you very much.
And just to follow up on my New York statement, the city did pass a plastic bag ban. It was then overturned by the state passing its own ban that changed the city law.
So there's now a bag ban effect for the entire state, including the city.
I have told you go to state and get it banned. I have no objection.
Sonia Gawas, 28 Melville Road. I just want to say something that I've been noticing for the past weeks, and I'm really, really disappointed at the display of our council. This is not how governance should work. Personally, if you ask me about plastic bag, I'm all for it. But if it's done in the proper process, let's follow the process. What I have understood after listening to all of you, like a ping pong going back and forth, lack of better words, is that we are not following process. Let's follow process. I'm all for process. If it's done the right way, let's do it. I follow it in my household. I have reusable bags, I have compost bins, I follow everything environmentally friendly. That's what I teach my children, and that's exactly what we want to move forward with. But let's not be children here on the council. Let's be adults, and let's follow what's the right way of doing things are. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alexander Kobos. My address is 116 Hickory Corner Road, East Windsor, New Jersey. It's a pleasure to be in front of you all today, and also just want to thank all of you for your hard work, time, and commitment to this township. I just have a couple questions regarding the supplementation of reusable bags and or the reduction of single-use bags. So my question being, if small businesses were to adapt to multi-use bags or get rid of single-use bags, I was wondering who will pay for that adaptation of those bags, for example, and also if businesses were to be fined for plastic bags that are being used, I'm a little worried that small businesses would be the most affected, since bigger companies can afford to pay for the plastic fees while smaller businesses may not.
That's a question for IZ.
I think that rather than getting into a back and forth, we have people here who are experts and who would be happy to talk to you about what would happen. I cannot imagine that use of plastic bags is the way small businesses make their money. It's just incomprehensible to me. And so thank you for your question.
Public comment.
Thanks.
Alex, thank you for your question and the
Thanks. I mean, they don't know the answer. That's how businesses don't trust government. People who are run businesses make decisions for businesses assuming that they know what's best for business. That's okay.
The answer is you find alternative bags. Instead of single-use plastic bag, you use either a paper bag or encourage your customer. Paper bag is one of the alternative. In our current ordinance, we did not ban this paper bag. Okay.
But you put a fee on a paper bag.
You could charge a fee.
And how much, a paper bag is more expensive than a plastic bag, I'm guessing. So the small business has to absorb that additional fee.
Or they can encourage people to bring their own bags, which is what most of us do. We just want to have everybody, we ideally want to have everybody else bring their own bags again and again and again. That's the way to reduce use of plastic throughout New Jersey.
So, sir, it sounds like the answer is the small business has to pay.
I don't understand why somebody from East Windsor.
Anybody can come and ask a question here. He identified where he was from. That's perfectly legit.
I mean, we have people coming from Pennsylvania making comments at council meeting, for God's sake.
Everybody.
Thank you for asking questions.
Thank you, sir.
It's actually part of a class assignment, so that's why there was other students here as well.
I thought so.
So thank you all of you very much. It's been very
Thank you.
pleasant.
Thank you for coming.
University. So this is a last day school. What's up? Last day school. But it was a public administration class.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What do I normally do with this?
Just write your name, so I have the proper spelling.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Shannon.
Hi, Shinyi Lin, 8 Harrison Lane. And I know there was some back and forth about the documents that were in the package that YB sent out. So just for transparency, I want to take responsibility that I was the one who wrote the information sheet, and it was never intended to be, it was intended because there was a lot of conversation about what would be the best way to communicate with both residents and business people. And I was just offering to volunteer my time to write a draft for what could be used as a starting point, because as someone who's had to do a lot of writing, it often helps to have a draft that you can edit, then start from scratch. So I just want to be clear that I was working on that just as trying to be an honest broker, just to try and help out. I myself got into this ordinance conversation relatively late. I was just watching what was happening organically within the community, and it just seemed like maybe it would help to have someone who was willing to just write up whatever was needed, and it seemed like since there was a lot of conversation in that one council meeting, the 9/16 one, I think, where it was first discussed, that there was some confusion of just like, how would you even communicate, and like, how would you deal with the questions? So I just want to make clear that I was just trying to be helpful, and I apologize if there was some miscommunication. It was just a way to help move the ball forward. I was trying to be helpful, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment, or can we go on to council reports on lots of other things, which we all have lots of things to say? Council reports, Linda?
The planning board met on October 2nd and approved a minor subdivision to adjust the property lines of 2 lots owned by the applicant Eagle LLC, and that's on 67 Penlisle Road. The celebrations application before the zoning board has been continued, rescheduled to November 7th at 7 p.m.
Okay, Aisha?
Nothing.
Virginia?
The only meeting was the parking authority meeting, and then it was moved to tomorrow, so I don't have anything either.
We'll hear about it next time.
We'll hear about it next time.
YZ.
Yeah, I did attend the Environmental Commission meeting, was last Thursday? Yeah, it was. So we did talk about the single-use plastic bag during that meeting. And what else? We talked about, try to remember what else were on the agenda. Yeah. Let me try to.
I wasn't there, but
Yeah,
did
yeah,
they
yeah.
talk about the
Oh, the certificate,
sustainable jersey?
the certificate jersey that we submitted, we haven't got the final verdicts just yet. But I think, yeah, but given that our point is over the limit by a big margin, so we believe that we'll be able to pass the silver certificate at this point. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. The Affordable Housing Committee met and discussed two proposals. We discussed senior living at Bear Creek, the preliminary final site plan, and we really didn't have any problems with this. It follows the approved design from 10 years ago. We also looked at the Hilton West Windsor property concept plan, zoning amendment for the property across from the Elements on Dorchester Drive. And we had a lot of problems with various things about that, and we wrote a memo to the planning board and to the professionals who are going to be discussing it. So I don't think that's going to come in front of this council. It may very well come in front of the next council. They decided that detention basins count as open space and affordable housing doesn't count towards your density notion. It doesn't exist so far as they're concerned, and so they could make it a smaller density. They had a proposal for senior housing where half of the affordable units have to walk upstairs, which is fine if you're 55, but once you get older, you want to keep your master bedroom on the ground floor, as is in the Village Grand and every other place we have affordable housing. So and there was a question about parking, and there was a question about a lot of other things. So we hope that the technical review committee will look at this and say, we have to deal with a lot of these things. I received an email from someone at the Clean Energy Associate with Environmental New Jersey, asking if the township is interested in passing a resolution supporting electric vehicle charging stations. Now, if you're interested, let me know and I will research it and get.
We did that already.
I don't think we passed a resolution on it.
We did.
When?
Yeah, maybe 6 months ago, roughly.
The plan.
No, you come on.
I don't know if what the proposal is something different. I haven't seen it.
We passed a EV resolution, I'm thinking 6 months ago, I could be off by a year at this point. And it basically described that we would support putting electric charging stations, how we would support electric charging.
That's what I would propose. Well, I have to research this to find out if it says anything new, but if we already passed it, I think we should just send what we already passed.
It gave a whole description of why we're supporting electric cars, and saying that we would support putting EV chargers. It may not have been, I don't know exactly how specific, plus we do have
I know
green
that the
checklist that's
planning
got
board
that's
does
encouraging
this.
EV chargers when new things come before the planning board, so I think we have everything but an ordinance, I think, at this point.
Well, this would be a resolution, but Gay, what I will do is if you find the resolution, and I will give you the person to send it back to. So, I don't have anything else. Administration updates?
Nothing.
Nothing.
This meeting is adjourned at 10:10.